We are back, folks. We are back with another exciting episode of Natural AF. I'm your host, Isaac.
And I'm Alexa.
And we've taken a little bit of time off, kind of unplanned, unscheduled break, but we're back. Some internet difficulties and...
Yeah, we had 2 internet outages last week, totally unpredicted and unscheduled. We've had storms. We had storms every day for like almost a week. It was quite bizarre. So internet outages, a very busy schedule. I ran my workshop yesterday. It was lots of fun. We actually ended up having a great turnout. We had a few people book in last minute. And it was awesome. It was a great day, and I was absolutely knackered afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
It was a long week.
And that is, of course, the human design workshop that Alexa put together with guest presenter Julie Santal, who we've had on the podcast before, talking nervous system in conjunction with human design and particular in relationships. And I heard some really good feedback already from it. So.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I'll definitely be running it again. It was really good first time around because obviously you're always going to get, even for me, I finished and I was like, oh yeah, I definitely need to like tweak this and I change this. So I'm definitely going to run it again in 2026. So if anyone missed it and was interested, stay tuned because I'll definitely be doing it again.
Yeah, so this episode with Cal Washington, this is one that we're really excited to put out. And if you're familiar with Cal Washington, he's the one that began the InPower Movement in Canada. He's been on some shows. I heard about him first on Crow 777. Crow's talked a lot about all these different legal and lawful remedies from different angles. And Cal's story is one that really stuck with me. And you'll hear more about it today. A bit more of his origin story, a bit more about what he's learned and the different things that correlate with the Bible and Job in particular, which brings us to when we saw him at the second Living Free Festival. Really great presentation, I thought. There's a lot of technical difficulties then as well, but the content was so good. I think it was really important. We're calling this episode, Don't Throw the Bible Out with the Bathwater. I think this is a timely conversation about this. And there's, from all these different angles, people have been talking about how the Bible's been changed and the Bible's got, this issue with it and that problem with it. And Cal has a very good perspective on why, quote unquote, they may potentially not want you to even read it, or especially the extra biblical text that we talk about in this show as well. So if you've been around the block a bit, you've heard those arguments before, you'll know right what we're talking about when we get into it.
Or if you're like me and you don't really have a very well-versed background in the Bible or religion, you'll still, I think, really enjoy this conversation. This interview was so hard to sit on for a few. We recorded this weeks ago and it was so hard to sit on because as soon as it was done, I was like, I want to put this out. Every time I hear Cal speak and then having the opportunity to actually interview him and ask the questions, that I'm particularly interested in and get his perspectives on certain things, I just find that I get so much clarity from hearing Cal speak. He is able to articulate things not only really well, but he puts them very simply. Like I often find that, when it comes to the Bible and people talking about it, it can sound quite complicated and it is very complex. And for someone like me that doesn't have that background, I just love hearing Cal. I could listen to Cal speak about this stuff like all day, literally.
And if you are worried that stuff might be boring, I mean, the perspective for me that was so exciting was this literally intersects with some of the more exciting, interesting things that happen or that are written about in these scriptures that include interdimensional beings that bred with humans and created this somewhat like of a master race. Like there's evidence to that. I think you can see that in the way that the legal system has been created and certain parts of it have been kept in these secret like occult circles. The cult of Saturn, you could describe it that way with the black robes and all this stuff. There's some pretty interesting intrigue here that goes back millennia. Cal's cracked several codes on this. He's sort of stumbled into a position of authority that has been given to him, I believe, and he'll talk more about that. But he's able to do some things that maybe that's just setting the tone for where we can go next. Like all of us can step into that as well. There's so much freedom and exciting things waiting on the other side of that when you actually see what's really been obscured from you. So
yeah,
I'm excited for people that are hearing this kind of stuff for the first time from this perspective, because I think this is the cutting edge, as we like to say.
Yeah, totally. And it is a long episode, guys, but it's worth every minute of it listening to it. And, chunk it down if you need to, break it up, listen to it over a few separate sessions. But there is so much gold in this episode. So I really hope you enjoy it. I actually can't wait to hear feedback on this one. So please reach out to us if you enjoyed it or if you want to know more, because we are very open to either getting Cal on again or getting other guests on to explore things of this nature much more deeply. So yeah, I'd love to hear your feedback.
So just before we get into the episode, I want to make an announcement for December. For those of you that are doing Christmas shopping, we have some incredible sales. This is our biggest sale for Natural Art Form going into the last month of this year. 20% off for fresh deodorant in the US, 30% off Alleviate in the US. And that's to help stimulate. We want to get the ball moving a bit more in the US. This is our stimulus package. Stimulate the economy, stimulate your health. If you've had a trick shoulder, trick knee, something that's been bothering you for a while, now's the time to actually try something out new that will help you get the ball rolling on healing, on recovery. This is my preferred way of accelerating recovery with Alleviate. And everyone's deficient in magnesium. Magnesium is important to help your nervous system reset, to relax, to get a deeper, restful sleep. And our deodorant includes the most absorbable topical form of that magnesium, and using it every day, it's like our secret way of supplementing you with a really high quality magnesium that also helps to kill bacteria that causes odor. So I'm very happy with it. Some people are telling me this is the best natural deodorant they've used in 20-something years.
Definitely. That's me. That's me. I've tried every natural deodorant under the sun over the last 20 years, and this is the only one that actually works to prevent BO.
Yep.
And it also smells great.
And look, guys, I've been on both sides of it. I've only stopped using chemical deodorants a couple years ago. I've worked in the oil field. I've absorbed more toxic stuff through my skin than hopefully any of you will absorb in your whole lifetimes. So detoxifying is primary tier 1 importance in my list of daily habits. So I'm using calendula. Calendula stimulates the lymphatic system. It helps with your detoxification. The forest deodorant, that scent actually includes one of my secret remedies that I like to use for detoxification called turpentine. Now, if you're new to that, turpentine is actually a medicinal remedy you can use. It's basically like an essential oil of pine, but it's a little bit different. And it works really well for breaking down things your body needs to degunk itself with. So there's a little bit of that in there. So all of these ingredients are intentionally crafted together for a synergistic approach to not just not have aluminum under the arm, but to actually provide something that's healthy for your body. It works, it lasts all day, and it's a net positive. So try it out.
Yeah, this is a great time to try new products out. If you're a regular listener, but you've never tried our products, it's on sale. So you may as well. That's when I like to try things. When I'm like, been eyeing it off for a while, but I'm like, I don't know. And then as soon as it goes on sale, I'm like, yeah, I'll try it. So head to naturalartform.com. You will find the sale is up front and center on the front page. You can't miss it. But of course, you can always join our mailing list while you're there, and you'll always be the first to receive sales, updates, offers, whatever we've got going on will be straight to your inbox when you're on our mailing list.
And if you're in Australia or New Zealand, we give you the whole package, the whole kit and caboodle. We have a bundle here that includes Alleviate, Regenerate, and your choice of refreshed deodorants. So that's available on our website, and it's very popular. People love it. So pick that up. It makes great gifts.
And value for money. The discount we put on that when you get the bundle is incredible.
Yes. And in Australia, you'll get free shipping when you spend over $145. So that's an added value. Snag your bundle today and leave us a review. Let us know how you guys like the products. So I'd love to hear your stories about how it's helping you. And you'll also get future discounts if you send us a video or picture testimonial. So keep an eye on your email address after you purchase for that.
All right. Well, before we get into the episode, guys, one more thing. We did record this interview on Zoom, and we have no idea why, but the recording view went to switch people. So normally you would see both of us on the screen when you're watching. There's nothing we can do about it. So if you're watching, hope that's not too disturbing. If you're listening, don't worry about it. Just listen and enjoy.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's get into the episode with the legendary Cal Washington. Enjoy.
Cal Washington is the CEO and co-founder of InPower Movement and a skilled expert in Lex Mercatoria and international commercial law. His journey began through personal challenges with the legal system, where he uncovered a hidden commercial process rooted in scriptural principles. Today, he empowers individuals to reclaim their authority and navigate systems of control with wisdom and peace. Whether addressing challenges like smart meters, 5G, vaccinations, or geo-engineering, Cal offers practical tools for lasting change. His mission is simple: to show that freedom is achievable when we understand and use the law as our ally.
All right. Well, we have the legendary Cal Washington with us today. It's really cool to catch up with you after the festival. It's been nice. You've been out here twice to Australia, and each time you come, we learn a lot from you, and it's been awesome interacting with you and your son.
Yeah, it's so great to finally get you on the podcast, Cal.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I've been thinking about this for weeks, so yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, we can't wait.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun last. Yeah, the festival was a lot of fun, and I enjoy your products. And this is not this is not prompted by you, but yeah, my family we want a big shipment, so that's going to be coming in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. Oh, good to hear. Well, it's so good to finally get you on. There's so much that we want to cover today. I made sure to book extra time for you because I just feel like you've had such an incredible journey for the people that know you, that know a bit of your story. But for any, newcomers or people that don't know who you are or what you've been through, I'd love for you to share a bit of your personal journey with, because obviously you're part of the InPower movement. What led you to that was a lot of the things that you personally experienced with quote unquote exiting the system. So, you don't have a driver's license, you don't have a Canadian passport, all of those things. So go back as far as you need to. I mean, actually, I'd love to know what was the catalyst for you to even start looking into this stuff about how, corrupted and unlawful our government structures are.
It was a divorce.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's where it started. And the aggression and the over the top, without getting into, finger pointing or anything, but the way divorces are you don't have to have a reason to divorce somebody. Like,
right.
Nothing happened. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but the system is so aggressive and so invasive when there's really no reason for it. There's there's nothing going on. And so I was like, well, what is this? This is not justice. Because I grew up watching TV, Perry Mason or whatever it was, these law shows, and it's always about, they give you this idea that there's this scales of justice, and they come to the truth, and then that wasn't what was going on in there. Like, I was like, what is this? Because this is not what I was expecting. I never really was in there much, right? But now I'm immersed in it, and I'm going, this is not court. What's going on in here? So that was it's that question, and not giving in until I got the answer to that, is what drove me. And that's, my life went, of course, down a road that very few go down, because I was not going to comply just because, somebody in a black suit was, or a black gown was saying this or that. And I even questioned it. I remember questioning a judge, like, I said, what country am I in that you have just said that from up there? And she looked at me like, nobody says that. Because if I'm in a free country and this is a justice system and you're looking for the truth, you're not doing that, not even close. I've showed you where the lies are, and you don't seem to even care. Like, it doesn't matter.
Custody battle, or
it ended up in that,
Yeah.
So, and then a child support enforcement thing, and that's where I really it got very aggressive, and I had to show up in court, and there was arrests and pepper spray and all kinds of stuff that over over the child support, because they are
Wow.
very organized and they get a lot of sway in the court.
Mm.
Turns out that they don't really have standing, and a judge um, revealed that to me, because he was very frustrated with what was going on, and he was mad at the lawyer, and they were very skilled lawyers. Don't get me wrong, but he stuck his hand up and said, "Stop talking." And he was just so mad at the situation that he was caught in, because I was doing this and they were doing that, and these things were not meeting, right?
Mm.
And so he goes to me, he goes, "They're collectors just like any other collector." And I went, "What?" That
Mm.
to me meant they don't have any standing. They're just a collector. They're a third party interloper.
Yeah.
And I went, "Wow, he's admitting this." And then he says, and then he was mad at me. "And you've got all this paperwork and you're not doing stuff and blah, 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 blah." So he was just really frustrated with the whole situation that I was causing. So
Mm.
yeah, that's how it kind of started. It was just trying to figure out what happened to the court that I had in my head. And when I realized this, and once I actually got, down this path, I realized we have a lot of things in our head that aren't necessarily true, and we just believe them.
Yeah.
That's why we pay income tax. That's why we vote. That's why we do a whole bunch of things that there really is we're not compelled to do them. We just are told that we are, and but there's nothing backing it, right?
Mm.
So that's how I came to understand the system. It was a long journey, and uh, lots of lots of bumps in the road, lots of time in the back of police cars, and you know, it it was not it was not fun. It was very oppressive, and but I went from that to where they just leave me alone. So in the end, it was worth it looking back.
Mm.
But if I was told everything that I would have to go through from the beginning, I would never have done it. I would have just back down. I'd have said,
Yeah.
Sure.
okay, this.
Yeah. Because how many years was
So,
it, Cal? Like what kind of span of time was this over?
well, it started early 2000s, and it probably almost 9 years, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah, for the point where they leave me alone, like they still leave me alone but it took 9 years approximately to get there for me.
Yeah.
I could get there faster now because I learned along the way, but
Yeah.
it's yeah, it was a lot of trial and error and arrests and a lot
Were
of
these
paperwork, a lot
arrests?
of brown envelopes. I got just,
Yeah.
every week some brown envelope from the government or or whatever. And just this constant looking over my shoulders
Mm.
because I was driving without a license, as I learned more. And, it started in the divorce. And then I started going to these meetings where these people were, and they're talking about birth certificate and capitalized name and just all this stuff. And I'm like, what is all this? This is all just sounds like nonsense to me, right?
Hmm.
And but I kept going because I had no other means of getting any information. But as I studied myself, I went, you know what? I don't think these people are crazy. There's actually something going on here.
Hmm.
There's some truth to this. So one thing led to another. I found out about, the driving scam, and, we don't have to have a license, and just how they do it and all that. So I rescinded my license. I rescinded my SIN number, which is my social insurance number. I
They actually
gave
call it a
all,
SIN number, huh?
Oh, that's interesting.
Wow.
yeah, and it just tells you the whole story there. Yeah, so I gave it all up. I rescinded it all, like officially, right up to the Queen, and gave them all notice that I'm not having any of this ID anymore. I had a U.S. passport, so I could still function. So I was very fortunate to have that. And they couldn't really get jurisdiction on that because it was issued through the consulate here in Vancouver and not from a state. They have reciprocating agreements with all the states, but they didn't have it how I got my passport, and I that came clear to me because they brought a bunch of federal police in on a traffic thing that I was doing, and because they caught me on a bridge, so I was in between two cities, like two boroughs in my big city, and so I was on the bridge, so I was in no man's land. I wasn't in that city or that city. So the guy pulls me over, and then he just took my passport, and then he sat in his van and locked it. And he was a peace officer for commercial trucks, but he saw my plates or lack of plates. And actually, no, at that time I still had the plates that I made for myself, which he took. And so they brought these police officers in, and it took them a long time. And it was RCMP, which is national. And in the one city, it was Vancouver police, which aren't RCMP. And in the other side of the bridge was RCMP, but these came from the Vancouver side, so they weren't coming from Richmond. And it turns out they were operating the freeway, which is the national thing. So they brought in national police to get the jurisdiction. And she was, you know, she came up, she was very friendly, and oh yeah, 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 and then it came down to the passport, and she says, "So, what state was that? Your U.S. passport issued from?" She's asking very nicely, and I said, "Well, it wasn't from a state." And she goes, "It has to be from a state." I said, "Well, it wasn't." She says, "I'm going to ask you one more time. What state was that from?" I said, "It wasn't from a state." And then she's instantly changed, and I'm like, "Whoa!" So that was all fake. Uh, One more time, and I don't want to hear that. I said, "Listen, I didn't get it from a state. I got it from the U.S. consulate in Vancouver." And she instantly, conversation over. My passport was given back. They all left, and a tow truck took my van. So that's when I learned, oh, they don't have jurisdiction over my passport unless it comes from a state. And luckily, mine came from, I guess, Washington D.C., like just as a through the consulate. So it wasn't a state passport. It was a U.S. passport, I guess. So that was all these things were like a happenstance, and actually they weren't a happenstance when I look back, but it was like, oh, that was fortunate. All these things lined up, and one thing led to another. I was still driving without insurance. They took my plates off that time, and that was the second time they took my plates. So I just drove without plates for about 2 years, and I got pulled over about once a month, and
Wow.
and I had read the act. I knew the act better than all the police officers and most of the judges. I just read it and read it, read it. And so I had a way of dealing with it that first of all, I bonded my insurance. So I gave a bond to the finance minister, which was in the act. They repealed it after that, but that I could give an instrument to the finance minister, and it would be taking financial responsibility for my driving, which is basically what the insurance does.
Mm.
So I did that. The finance minister ended up quitting over this because they wouldn't accept it. I was
Oh,
supposed to get a
wow.
sticker from the inside of my windshield and a card that I could hand to police officers, and they wouldn't give it to me.
Hmm.
And this is how criminal they are. So even though I found the loophole, so to speak, they just no, we're not going to do it. And
Yeah.
so one thing led to another, and so now I'm driving without insurance. I've still got a bond on it, but they're not honoring it, and I'm being pulled over approximately once a month. And all I had to do was give $88 to the tow truck driver, and then when the police officer left, he would put my van down, and I would leave. Right, so I was ending up paying about $88 a month, and insurance was at least 150. So I was like ahead of the game. I was actually winning. The only thing was, it was I was losing some time. I was late sometimes because it would take about an hour for this to all transpire, right?
Mm.
So that's the only thing. So they didn't like that. They summonsed me. There was a RoboCop that pulled me over, and he was just tickled pink that he could get in my life and make my life miserable. And he was one of those guys.
Yeah.
So he he put a summons down on the trunk, and I wouldn't pick it up. He says, "You got to pick that up." I says, "No, you show me the law that says I have to pick that up, and then I'll pick it up." And of course, he's never heard that before, but I don't have to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
But what normally happens is they drop, slide, and then we are sort of trained to pick it up. We just do, right? And I had already learned, no, I'm not picking that up, and therefore I haven't read it. So he ended up reading it to me after he arrested me, took me down to the police station, and at the police station, the guy wouldn't, the guy behind the desk, he says, "I'm not having nothing to do with this. Like you brought this guy in on a traffic thing, and if you want to sign him in, you sign him in." He walked away. Like literally, I went, "Oh, so this isn't going so well." And yeah, so I saw all these types of things where the Wizard of Oz was losing its luster. Like I could see the cracks, I could see the holes, I could see where they didn't understand what they were doing, and all kinds of things. So anyway, this guy, he reads it to me, and then he lets me go. And I was supposed to appear in court. So I did a document saying, "Can you prove you're a country? Can you prove you're a court? Can you prove this? Can you prove that? And you got 30 days to do it. And if you don't answer, then I'm not coming to your little party. It's not happening." So I did a lawful process to deal with it, and so I didn't come. It was called an abatement. I just made up the name, and so they kind of left me alone, and it looked like it was working for about a year and a half, and then they arrested me at work on the same warrant. Yeah. And they brought a brand new guy in. Yeah, this was the court. There was a bench warrant because I didn't appear, right? Failure to appear.
Failure to appear. Okay.
Yeah. So they arrested me at work. They brought a rookie guy in. It was his first day. Actually, the last few times I got arrested was with a brand new guy. They would wait till they had a brand new guy before they'd come and get me.
Well,
partly because they know, maybe it's because they know there's not going to be any violence. Like I'm not a violent person, but I think it was more nobody wanted to touch it. Like,
yeah.
So they'd have a rookie guy who doesn't know anything. So both times it was their first day, and this guy, I knew it was his first day because he had to tell them exactly what to do. Like, okay, we here, we have to put our guns in the trunk now. Like it was like that kind of instruction, right? Like,
yeah,
tie your boot. That it was. You could see this was his first day,
and he never would have forgotten that first day. I guarantee.
No, yeah, and nobody else. Like I said, a lot of officers would just back away from anything that I was doing already back then, and they just didn't want to have anything to do with it because there's a lot of money floating around, and this guy is saying a bunch of stuff, and nobody wanted to deal with it. I had a few officers pull in behind me, and I don't have a plate, and then I guess they figure out who it is, and then they just turn off. Like they just,
oh wow,
we're just gonna pretend we didn't see that. Until I got Mr. RoboCop, and this is a guy who was most likely bullied all through school, not a very large guy, didn't have a lot of friends even on the force. He was just one of those awkward people, and there's nothing wrong with him, but it's just like he's socially not happening. And
yeah.
He drove by himself, and so the way he was looking at it is he just, I'm going to get back at somebody. Like he was looking to get back at the world because of what happened in his life. So
sounds
I got that guy.
I often say that about our politicians. Like there's like Dan Andrews, the what's it called? Our Victorian premier that pushed all the stuff through COVID. I think he's gone now. But I took one look at him and I was like, this guy had the worst time during school and he just hates everyone now.
Yeah. There's a lot of them,
Yeah.
and they get into these positions. So um, so anyway, they arrested me. They took me. They had a sergeant, so they had a higher. I think he was a sergeant, maybe a captain, going with this brand new guy. But the brand new guy had to do everything. Like he was just telling him exactly what to do, what to say, what to ask, and and he knew about my documents. I said, "Did you read the documents?" He goes, "Yes, I did." I'm talking to the sergeant. The other guy didn't know anything, and I said, "Well, you know what it says in there." He says, "Yeah, I'm aware." Yeah, okay. And so he says, and we were talking quite nicely, and he says, "Okay, you're under arrest." And I said, "Okay, since you've said that, now I will not be speaking to you. And I don't want you to take it as rudeness or resisting arrest or anything like that. You have just read me my rights, and I'm going to be exercising my rights. So when I'm done this sentence, I will not be speaking to you again." That's it.
Hmm.
So I don't speak, and then they're asking me questions in the car, and I just look out the window like I can't hear them, right? And so I got all the way down there. I wasn't saying a word, nothing, not a gesture, nothing. And they have me in handcuffs, and they hand me to the sheriffs down at the courthouse. So the sheriffs put their handcuffs on me. So now I have two handcuffs on me, and then the RCMP take theirs, yeah, and take theirs off.
Wow.
And then as soon as he took his off, I said, "Okay, I want your card," to the guy. And he goes, "Oh." So he had to take his card out and stick it in my shirt. Since you're not under, like, these people now have me in custody, and now I can talk to you, right? So,
Right.
so that was the beginning of 60 days in jail.
Hmm.
Jeez.
That day, I didn't get to phone my kids.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, I showed up in court. They, "Are you Calvin Washington?" "Nope." "What's your name?" I'm not sure that I have a name." "Well, what do people call you?" I said, "Well, since you asked that, since I was little, there was this lady who claims she's my mom, but I'm not sure about that. I actually have no evidence that she is my mom. I really don't know. That's what I was told. I think she might be my mom, but I have no idea whether she is or not. But regardless of that, when that lady wanted me to come home for lunch or dinner or something, she would yell out, "Teeny." So if you're asking my name, like what I was called, it must be Teeny because that's what I answered to.
Did they just think you were mad?
Sort of, but not really, because
Yeah.
they were frustrated with it.
Yeah.
So they had to call me Teeny. I wouldn't answer to anything else.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and then I get into the where they're going to do my fingerprints, and he goes, "You got to put your fingerprints on this card." And I said, "Well, I'm not doing that. If you take my hand and do it, I'm not going to resist you, but I'm not voluntarily giving you my prints." And so he did that. He took my hand, which he would have done anyway.
Hmm.
But I wanted to make clear that I'm not complying with this,
Mm.
not voluntarily giving it. So then I wasn't resisting at all, but then he pretended like I was. "If you do that again, I'm gonna break your hand." And I'm like, "Dude, don't even try that." I just diffuse all that stuff, right?
Mm.
Like, "Nice try." And everybody's kind of looking like, "Well, that didn't work." So then he gets all my fingerprints on there, and there's a line where I'm supposed to sign. And he goes, "You need to sign that." I said, "Well, I'm not signing that." And guess what? You can't take my hand and make my mark. So we're at an impasse, aren't we? And that's where I learned I don't have to sign, and they can't make me sign, and they can't actually do anything about it.
Mm.
So I didn't sign anything that whole 60 days, the whole time I was in there. And I had to tough out some stuff. It made it very inconvenient for me. But I didn't sign anything. I wouldn't sign going into the sheriff's vans to go to court. I wouldn't sign for infirmary. I ended up with strep throat, and I couldn't get any medication or see a doctor because you would
Oh,
have to sign.
yeah.
I couldn't take any of the money that I had in my pocket and buy myself chips and deodorant and all that. Like they have a what's called a canteen, and but I would have to sign, and I knew it, so I didn't sign anything. So by the time they got through 60 days and got through the trial, and then added up all of the things that they can then charge for, because this is how they make their money, right? We
Mm-hmm.
had a prisoner. He did this. He went to the infirmary. He had that. He had, I didn't have any
Mm.
of it. I didn't even have a ride to the courthouse
Wow.
because you can't prove that I was in the van because there's no signature on the piece of paper with where my name's supposed to go. Was he in there? I don't know. He didn't sign it. So they couldn't make any money off of me. They couldn't prove I was even there.
Wow.
Serious. I learned a lot from that.
Mm.
That was like, wow, that is so powerful.
What kind of
Mm.
money
So
would
by the
they
time I
charge
was
for
done
that?
with what's that?
What kind of money would they charge for something like that, like a ride? Have you ever cracked in and been able to see that?
No, I imagine it's in the hundreds or thousands of dollars per prisoner. It
Mm.
would be like it's a money maker. It's
Yeah.
like you're considered property and you're warehoused and you're shipped and you're like all that. So it's and because it's like a living man, they probably have to have pay more for that and all that stuff, right?
Mm.
They got to pay for your bedding, your food, just the basics, and then the facility itself. It's $1 million um, racket. It's a business, and they keep those jails full
Yeah.
for
Quick
that
questions
reason because
too,
it's
Cal. At what point did your family know where you were? Like, were you ever able to call out to them, or did they kind of have to find you?
they. I was in there probably a few days, and they brought me in twice, and because I'd been in court so much, I there was a few people I recognized. I didn't know them, but you see people there.
Hmm.
There was this guy there. He was always dressed a little bit funky, but not um, dirty, like clean, but not in a suit. But he seemed to be always with the street people.
Hmm.
But he wasn't a street person. Like he just always around them. Like because
Yeah.
there's always a pile of street people in the courts all the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and because that's easy money.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just go and pick him up and throw him in there, right? So,
Mm.
um, so I didn't know who he was. He didn't look like a lawyer, but turns out he was. And he said, I was in the cells underneath the thing, and they said, "You got a visitor," and I'm like, nobody even knows I'm here. So I went and looked, and I could see it. This guy, I recognize him. Like I've seen him around, and he goes, "Well, I'm a lawyer." He says his name, and I'm a lawyer, and I'm like, "Well, I'm not probably not going to talk to you." And he says, "I was in your court thing today, and I heard that your kids don't know where you are because I said that." And he says, "Is there something I can do?" And I looked at him, and I kind of trusted him because I'd just seen him around the street, people, and he just looked genuine. So I wasn't going to give him my address or my phone number. I said, phone my friend and he'll know what to do. So I gave him my friend's number. And so number one, it informed my friend that I was in there because nobody knew. I was just
Mhm.
taken from work.
Yeah.
And so he got a hold of my kids and they dealt with that. And then because he was working with me on all my cases, there was a group of us and I was the guinea pig. Um, yeah. And then so now he knows I'm in jail. So a group of them got together and then they put a promissory note and a habeas corpus in to get me out.
Hmm.
And that was the $300 million promissory note. So they put it in the case in the file and then went back a day or two later and it was gone. The note was gone.
Oh,
So they
wow.
accepted it. They took it.
Oh.
So I was expecting to get out but they didn't. So that all led to once they got through the trial and found me guilty, my sentence was 1 day in jail, 59 days credit because I was already in there for 60, a a 5-year driving prohibition and a $1,200 fine. And so I knew the 5-year driving prohibition. There's no way I can drive for 5 years and not get caught. Like not get caught. These are just too hard.
Mm.
It was about once a month for me. I would be pulled over. So there's no way I can. And I would end up back in this loop. And I
Yeah.
saw a lot of guys that were in that loop on conditional sentences and stuff, and then they back in, let them out again, back in, let them out again, and the conditions would be like, don't go into Vancouver. Wow, as soon as they're in Vancouver, okay, don't
Mm.
go into Vancouver. And so it's
Yeah.
just a big revolving door. They're just churning money out of these guys, right? And so I saw that they were setting me up for that, and I went, no, I'm not taking the 5-year driving prohibition. I said that will cause me harm, and she took it off. And the prosecutor was like, what?
Wow.
Wow.
So, yeah. So then I said, and the 59 days credit that you offered me. And she goes, yeah. Okay. I said, I'd like to talk about that. She goes, okay. And I heard in the, through the grapevine that I would get $300 a day for that time.
Yeah, right.
I wasn't sure if that was true or not, but that's what I heard, inside. So it's probably true.
Is that based
So she
on
was expecting,
like wages lost and things like that if because you
yeah,
were unable
yeah.
to work? Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a compensation when you're held in a remand situation. If you're held in a remand situation and you're guilty of something that is jailable, you get double the time while you're in the remand during court. So it's almost better to stay there, draw out your court thing, and because then you're getting twice the time in your.
Mm.
But when it's not a jailable offense like mine was, she gave me 1 day in jail. Now I got 59 days credit. And so I said, the credit has to equal the promissory note because that's the transaction. You see, it all has to balance to zero.
Mm-hmm.
So long story short, well, she tried to play dumb. She goes, what promissory note? And I said, there was a promissory note put in for my incarceration. She goes, what? I said, there was a promissory note put in for my incarceration. She goes, what? I said, there's a promissory, like I wasn't going to back down from. And so she went, okay, I got it. She tried the 3 thing on me, and I'm like, no, I'll repeat it 3 times. Not worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes, where was it put? I said, well, it's put at 222 Main, where we are. And she says, well, where? I said, with the clerk of the court. She goes, okay. And I think pretty sure she knew all this,
Mm.
but maybe she didn't. And so I said, I want the 59 days credit has to equal the promissory note because you've offered me that coming back to me. And she goes, okay, how much was the promissory note? 300 million US. And she just like, what? So that was my last day in court, and I never appeared ever, ever, ever again on anything
Wow.
because that broke their back.
Jeez.
Now they didn't give it to me, but they panicked and they have to give it to me. Like they had to account for it. Like it was an actual transaction, and they went through a lot of things, showing that they acknowledged. Number one, they put it in the newspaper that they owed $300 million, or they lost $300 million in 1 day, is how it was framed.
Wow.
Yeah. Then we added 20% because of what it says in the Bible, and then the newspapers are saying we owe $360 million, and we got to do a bunch of cuts, and they started cutting all kinds of programs. Then they built a bridge. There was already a bridge there, and they tore the old one down and built a new one, and it cost $300 million.
Wow.
And they put a toll on that bridge for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. And I'll bet you the amount that they got, because they took the toll off for no reason, just gone. And I'll bet you the amount that they got out over that time was $300 million. They just got their money back. So they're ready to pay. They just haven't. And So this is sort of my backstory. There's a lot more in there, but I learned a lot about commerce. I learned a lot about their authority and their and lack thereof. I learned a lot about police officers. I learned a lot about judges. I saw a lot of judges run
Mm.
Mm.
and all kinds of weird behaviors, like rolling out the red carpet for me when it's not even my case, not calling the case unless I'm there, and it's not my case. But if I'm not there as a spectator, the judge was not going to call the case.
Mm.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What do
And
you think
so
that
I'm looking
means?
at all this when they're telling me this, I'm like, well, that's just weird. But it's because I was doing commercial moves, so I went, this is real. Like they're really afraid of this, afraid of whatever it is I'm doing. I'm like a baby with an AK-15 and don't really understand what it is I've got, but they're all like, whoa, 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 don't point that at me. No? And so
Yeah.
I started to figure out, maybe I should figure out what this thing is. Oh, I see. It's got bullets and bullets come out the end. Ah, now I see why they're afraid. So that was my education, was a lot of trial and error,
Mm.
seeing the results, and then figuring out what did I do to make them do that.
Yeah.
And then one thing led to another. Once I was free of all this and I was helping a few other people, I learned a lot there as well. And then the smart meters came out, and my friend Josh Del Sol made a movie about the smart meters.
Mhm.
And same guy that helped me, that wrote the promissory note, helped him edit his film. So we were all that, all knew each other and that kind of thing. So once the film was out, it won a bunch of awards, and it's a very good film. It's still today. And but what was happening is people were walking out of the theaters, etc., despondent because it's like all doom and gloom. We're all going to die. They're going to kill us with these smart meters, right? So it was I wouldn't say it was fear based, but it did not. There was no positivity coming out of it. And that concerned Josh. So he knew about all the 300 million and all the things that happened in my life. And he goes, "Is there something you can do?" And I looked at it. By that time, I had studied more commerce and had a pretty good grasp of what's really going on in the world. And I went, I don't know much about the meters, but are they using door hangers, or are they putting notices in, like ads or notices in your power bill? And he goes, "Yep." I said, "Well, then they're using commerce. They're
Mm.
using tacit agreement. They're putting an offer out there, and you're not responding correctly, so they're taking it as agreement, and then they just move forward." So I said, "Yeah, we can counter this. Easy. It's easy peasy." So I took the document that I had written to collect the 300 million that had caused the most not damage, a bad word, but had caused the most uproar amongst the people, that when they put it in the newspaper, and even the guy at a federal level, he stepped down on the day he got his default notice, and it shocked everybody. Like this guy was
Wow.
a insider's insider. He was
Mm.
like his previous job was head of the Bank of Canada, and he'd also worked for the IMF. So he was like one of those guys,
Mm.
Yeah.
and he left with no notice.
Wow.
So when we saw that, we went, "Whoa, we are really on to something here. This is not, that guy knows more than we do, and he is running from this." And so that's why, lawyers or anybody tells me you don't know what you're talking about, I'm like, "Yeah, nice try. I've already seen it. I've seen all the blinking. I've seen all the running. I've seen all, footsteps in the distance. Like it's not, you can't convince me otherwise. I just saw too much."
Mm. And
The
lawyers
judges,
think that because they did a, 6, 7, 8 year law degree, that's everything there is to know, and they're purposely not taught this stuff. So they're the ones that have no idea.
yeah, and we write that to lawyers because they come in. There's no basis for the NOL. There's no basis in law. I said, well, look at this law right here. Because if law merchant didn't exist like you think it does, then why is it in a federal act? Law merchant, quite clearly.
Mm.
And just like what you said, Alexa, it sucks that you weren't taught this in law school, but ignorance of the law is no excuse. Isn't that what you guys always say?
Yes, 100%.
And it literally, it rocks them to the core because they're very ego based. And yeah, I went to law school and I know everything. And all of a sudden they find out, oh, I don't know everything. And
Yeah.
it kind of, it pulls the rug out, like the bottom out from under them. And they usually go pretty silent after that. They just, oh,
Yeah.
so it, it's pretty cool to have knowledge, and be able to handle people like that. Because normally when you see a letter with a lawyer's logo, you instantly go, "Oh, I'm in trouble, and I gotta and they're used to that. They're used to
Yeah.
just throwing letters out with even gobbledygook in them, and everybody just runs from them, right? So I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a journey you've had. And I want to ask too, so anyone that does know you knows that you are a biblical man. Was
Yeah.
that something that was always part of your sort of upbringing and that's what helped you learn this stuff? Or was it as you were learning this stuff and, the laws and how they're written and the loopholes and all this that you then you were kind of introduced to the biblical stuff and how it all kind of correlates?
No, I came from not growing up as young. I became a Christian late teens, early 20s kind of thing, like out of high school. And so it was a lot of years of, just listening to people talk about the Bible, and I went to school and I read it, a few times. So I had pretty good Bible knowledge. I wouldn't say I'm a Bible scholar or anything like that, but pretty good Bible knowledge. Not a lot memorized, but I know the principles and I can, paraphrase a lot of it pretty accurately. What was astonishing to me is when I got into commerce, the principles of commerce seem to be the same principles of the Bible, like the true, pure law merchant, or what you would call equity. It, there was a correlation. Even the part, like settle with your brother on the way to court, that's in the Bible. And what was happening to me is present your arguments. So that I would present my arguments, and I had really good arguments, like really good. I could see the judges reading them, and they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And they're looking at me like, because I read a lot of Acts and I really good arguments. No, nope, you lose. And I'm like, what? What do I got to do to win in here? And when I took commerce, I was getting epiphany after epiphany on the first, my first real exposure to it. And it was all the things that didn't make sense to me, where all of a sudden, oh, that's what it is. They got me to argue and I should have been settling. And I got arguments written right at the top of the page. So I lost instantly. It doesn't matter what I wrote in there. I lost because I was arguing. And this is a biblical principle. I don't know if the judges know this. They're trained in it.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why I was losing. So I went, oh, now I'm starting to see what's actually happening here at a higher level, and just change my tactics. And yeah, it got to the point where they just leave me alone.
So just to clarify, what exactly is it like to settle your arguments? How does that translate in like what the stuff you're doing in court?
Well, you have to settle on the way to court. There's a Bible verse. So this is a principle. You don't go and argue in court. You do all you can to settle out of court. And they do this a lot. Like the FMEP people, the child support people, they met with every dad. They were all dads. There was no women. Before court. They went around and did it. They talked to everybody, okay, and tried to make a deal, just even a temporary deal. Then they would say, okay, you can go. We got an agreement. And only those that didn't have an agreement, there would be a hearing. And I was the only one that had a hearing.
Mm.
Everybody else took the deal and just got out of there because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right, actually, because the last time I went to court, I just not represented, presented myself, and that's what, yeah, because I the last time I was in court, this was many years ago, I had legal aid. I was like my early 20s. I didn't know any of this stuff back then. And so I had legal aid. So they just kind of did everything for me. I had no idea. And this time, obviously, I learned a lot more and was still engaging. But yeah, the prosecutor did the same thing. You're right. They do beforehand, before you even enter the courtroom. You all go, and a few people had said, like, go with your, like, the stuff that you've got, and they'll probably just let you off based on that. But because he thought he could get a conviction, like, from my case, I still had to go before the judge. Luckily enough, the judge took one look at it and dismissed the case. So it was all good. But yeah, if they think they can win, they'll take you in. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The agreements that are made, and plea deals are the same, right? Plea deals are out of court. Yeah.
yes, yeah. So no, they're not following biblical principles. Like, I don't think they realize that, but they're following a protocol, more the way you described it. It's about winning and losing to them.
Yeah.
And but there's an actual principle going on there, and if you operate in these principles, the room kind of changes. And I saw that a lot, where the room would change. It's like it's on a portal or a ley line, or I don't know what's actually going on, like
Like the
energetic level, but the room changes. And when they sense it, like when the judge senses that the room has gone more positive, every time it happened, they would stand down. We're going to stand down. And they would disappear for about an hour, about an hour. But about halfway through, we'd be sitting in the lobby, and then you could feel the change. Like, they're doing something. They're changing. You can feel it. It's like they're switching it back. So whatever they're doing in the back is not having a discussion. They're doing something because you can feel it. Yeah, it's not a good place to be in, and I don't like going in there. I'm not afraid of it at all, but I don't go in there. I haven't been in there in years. But you can take that place for whatever reason, and you can turn it very positive. I remember I was helping a guy with taxes, and they had so many witnesses, and they had lawyers, and they had a big entourage of people, and there was just us three, the guy's wife and me and maybe one other, and they're all laughing and these guys, blah, blah, blah. And my friend was kind of getting, am I doing the right thing? It was starting to play on his mind. I said, watch this, and I went and stood in the middle of the lobby, and I just stood there, not saying a word. And they were laughing, and then all of a sudden the laughing stopped, and then they all started to go and sink.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What were you
And they
doing?
knew that it was me standing in the middle that was doing it, not me in particular, but it was coming through that action.
What was your intention standing there? Was it like an energetic thing? Were you saying a prayer? Or like,
nope. I just energetic. If you stand and I'm, because they were mocking God, they were mocking everything, and quite loudly. And I said, watch, I'll do like almost a foolish thing, because I'm standing in the middle of the floor with, nothing around me. They're on this side, and my friends are on that side, and they're sitting in couches, and there's a few tables and stuff around, and my friends are standing, on the other side of the room, and I just stood right in the middle of the room and just stood, just quiet. And then all of a sudden, the energy changed in there and just went, and they could feel it, and they were started to sink.
That's incredible. It says a lot about the power of presence. And I mean, I think a lot of people can relate to that when someone walks into a room and they just have this very commanding presence. And I think And I think it's interesting too, because again, being in that setting, I think they're not used to that. So many people go into court afraid and feeling like they're in the wrong and they've done something wrong. And to have someone like you go in and do that, I could just imagine the feeling in the room, the energy completely shift, because like you said, they're just used to winning. They're used to doing things their way, and people being, below them, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. So these things are all spiritual in essence. So there's a whole other level to everything that's going on in a courtroom. And if you tap into that, and it's biblical principles. There's a bunch of things in there. There's sayings like in there that don't don't worry about what you're going to say. In that moment, I will give you the words. I've experienced that so many times where the words coming out of my mouth are like, I'm as surprised as everybody else in the room as it's coming out. I'm like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. But it had nothing to do with me. It wasn't I didn't think it. It just came out of my mouth. And I've seen other people do it too. So it's not just me. And so these principles are there. Like this is a real thing. Like what they're saying in the Bible. He does show up there. And if there's any mocking of God going on and somebody stands, the energy changes. I remember, my cellmate, when I got out, I was helping him with his case, 2 cases, and he was in a Supreme Court, and he brought up the Bible, and he said, have you got an oath? Yeah. Did you swear on the Bible? Yeah. Is it to Queen Elizabeth? Yeah. So are you going to follow the Bible, or are you going to follow the statutes? And after he asked that question, it was like God looked through the roof. And everybody felt it. Everybody was like, what's going on here? Like, it was like, yeah, what is your answer? It was palpable.
Yeah.
And everybody sensed like, what just happened? Like something's here. And she was white as a ghost. And she looked like she was fluids were going to come out of her body somewhere. Like she looked really distressed and ill, like that feeling like, okay, I'm going to be sick and there's nothing I can do about it. And I'm like, it was that. She was like, or I'm going to.
This is the judge?
Yes. Yeah. Or I'm going to wet my pants and there's nothing I can do. Like she was like that. She was like,
wow.
And she said, I'm going to follow man's laws. She said it.
Wow.
And she quickly got off, and I'm pretty sure when she got like out the door, she would have vomited or something. Like she was visibly
really
not well. Yeah. It was palpable.
Very interesting.
I saw a lot. Like I just saw so much, and the stories just go on and on and on and on. But but what it led to, after Josh's film, and he said there's something you can do. So I took the document that was the most powerful thing that I had used, well, one of them, and altered it for the smart meters. And then I sent it to him. And there was a group of about 20 people in Seattle that were fighting the meters, and they were going down to City Hall, and they were very adept people, very savvy, very up on the law, and not afraid. Like they were very outspoken. Really, really cool people. And they took a look at it, and then they wanted me to come down and speak on it, which I was reluctant to do, but I did. And then the room kind of lit up. They all were getting it. And I'm like, whoa. Because back in those days, if I, had little talks, people kind of glazed over and just, you could just see them. Guilt. There's less of that now. It's still there, but it was really like, the odd person would be like, oh, I got it. So this whole room kind of lit up, and so they did the process, and mayor stepped down, 3 council members stepped down, Six were not seeking re-election. It was hitting the papers, and they were sensing the results of this.
Mm.
And then a new mayor came in, and he got the paperwork, and he stepped down after a month. So he was only in mayor for a month, and he's like, I'm out of here too. So we saw that happening. Then a lady in Detroit started getting sick, and she didn't know why. She's she's like I, I would she's not a healer, but she helped a lot of people with a lot of stuff like deep cancers, and she was very knowledgeable of the body and food, and natural sort of healing, mostly around food.
Yeah.
And so she started getting sick, and she didn't know why. And then she realized it was around the time they changed the meter. And then she started researching, oh, that's what it is. So she brought us out. Actually, she changed her meter and got, of course, they took her to court, and there was a, battle sort of going on by the time we got there. And so we did a presentation out there, and there was about a group of 20 people out there that got going as well. Then within a month, I was working up in Kelowna, northern, sort of halfway up BC, and there was a group up there that were against the meters, and I spoke there, and about 200 people, the room lit up, and and so they started doing it. So we had 3 cities doing it, and that's how InPower just kind of naturally came about. It wasn't like, let's do this. It was more like, this is happening. We got to kind of keep up, and
Yeah.
and it's been that way the whole time, where it's just things just happen, and we just move with it.
Yeah, that's incredible. And the way that it's spread now, like there's people here in Australia doing it. I know a lot of people that are part of InPower. How far around the world has InPower gone with the notice of liabilities?
Across the world or around the world?
Oh, well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Over the world.
Anyway, we're in 15 countries.
Wow.
Sweet.
And we'll probably be in 17 in the next couple of weeks. Like at least one NOL. Yeah, all the way to Hong Kong, Norway, Denmark, Japan, Belgium, South Africa. South Africa's coming online in a week or so. And of course, Australia, Canada, and United States are our biggest groups for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, it's movements like this that, when people have that mentality of like, oh, I'm just one person, what can I do? How can we ever, overcome what they're doing to us? And it's like, this is literally how it happens. Look how it started. And it's like everyone does their little bit, and it all accumulates, like it all adds up. And yeah, I think InPower is such a beautiful example of that. And talk about making waves, like the amount of, I remember when you were talking at the Living Free Festival last year and saying the amount of, these people really high up that have stepped down just one after the other, after these notice of liabilities have been sent out. And I know Dave Armstrong, who we've had on a couple of times, or a few times now on the podcast, he often says, well, we can't claim that it's because of us, but we just set the notice of liabilities out, and then these people step down. So, you connect the dots.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's more, if you read the headlines, it's like 15 minutes notice, reason for leaving. I'm tired. I think that's what Andrew said.
Yeah, right.
I'm tired. Anybody got a job?
Right.
And then the one woman, I can't pronounce her name.
Berejiklian? Gladys Berejiklian? Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at her press release, I went and talked to these other 2 guys who had stepped down, and now I'm stepping down. She didn't say that, she didn't say that they had stepped down, but I went and talked to Andrews and McGowan, and I'm stepping down. Reason, just time. I'm just done.
Yeah. Yeah. Funny that.
Yeah. And I think it was McGowan, or maybe it was Andrews. He had death threats because he was quite the piece of work. And the police wanted to put him in kind of like a protective situation, like get him out of his house, and he didn't do that. But when he left after these notices of liability, he went into hiding. He like
Wow.
changed all his holdings, like all his properties, put them in his wife's maiden name, and because we had a skip tracer find him, right?
Oh,
And
Wow.
yeah.
yeah, and he said because he looked at the background, he says, he had death threats, and he was told to, maybe we want to put you, like, hide you, and no, I'm no, but this now all of a sudden he's like
Yeah.
ghosting himself, no ID, like just really, really hiding
Mm.
all his property.
Yeah, not
He's
so.
probably looking into your work, being like, how do I get rid of my license plate? How do I get rid of my passport?
That's right.
Yeah, not surprising. So McGowan, for people listening, was the Western Australia premier of that state during COVID. And yeah, it's really interesting when you look at the different states, and because they were all kind of running things however they wanted, especially during COVID. And then, because I didn't know most of these premiers before COVID, and McGowan, there's a lot of Freemasonry ties in WA, like lots, like almost all the buildings have Freemasonry symbols on them in the city. And so like he's very much part of that. So it's interesting. I'm kind of not surprised to hear that he was getting death threats and stuff, because it was another sort of area. I think didn't probably get as much coverage as, like, say, Victoria, because what was happening down there, people getting shot with rubber bullets and stuff. It was that news went all over the world. But within Australia, we were definitely hearing a lot of stuff coming out of WA that was pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole thing about Australia is it was summer for you people, and it wasn't even flu season, and there wasn't even any cases, and it's like,
Yeah.
come on.
But you could be asymptomatic and still have COVID, Cal.
One of the top symptom is there are no symptoms.
Yeah. You know you're really in trouble. It's actually worse.
So ridiculous. I know. So ridiculous. What a time to be alive. Honestly, it was pretty insane. But again, it was, I think, a big time. It was a big catalyst for a lot of people that time to start looking into this stuff, because especially when they were handing out, COVID fines for not complying, and they all got thrown out after, when everything was said and done. So again, it's just to instill fear. They were completely unlawful fines. Like, there was no grounds for any of them. And I think that was a huge catalyst for a lot of people to actually start looking into the lawful side of things.
Exactly. And that's what I had found already before that Canada doesn't exist in the way that I was told.
Mm.
And I put it in front of them, and they all either go silent or they run. It's like, okay, there should be an answer for this. Like,
Yeah.
you should be able to answer what Canada is, how it was formed, and et cetera, et cetera. But you don't, and you run. So
There's something about a wink and a nod as, like, part of their process.
yeah, we sent some. I bonded the Clean Energy Act here in British Columbia. This is early. I don't think we were even doing the notice of liability yet. So this was just sort of grassroots, people asking for documents to help, and actually there was I shouldn't say her name, but a famous pop star's ex-wife was living out here, and so she was she was hypersensitive, so she was helping, she was kind of funding us, the work that we were doing, and so part of that was to send a group in to see the Clean Energy Act. So this group went in there, and this is again, how people are trained. They went in there and they brought the act out, and they said, "Yeah, here's where the clerk signs, and here's the clerk right here." And they go, "Isn't the lieutenant governor supposed to sign that?" "Oh no, I've been signing those for 35 years." "Oh, okay." And they walked out.
Wow.
And they phoned me up. "Yeah, it's all good. It's all signed." The clerk there, he came right out. It was the clerk himself. He said he's been signing them for 35 years. My answer was, it doesn't matter how long he's been signing them. It's wrong. And they're like, "What?" They instantly snap up. They go in the next day. Hey, we want to see that again. Now the clerk doesn't want to come out, and the jig's up, right? So then they're saying, yeah, well, he's in the room, and she raises a finger, and then he signs it. And I went, really? So all these acts, especially the ones that put people in jail, are based on somebody might have raised a finger. But what if they were just scratching their face, and now you've said, "Oh yeah, she's you know, giving royal assent by this," and now you're putting people in jail, and you have dads who are committing suicide because your act is over the top. Is that what you're saying? And then they were like, "Well, no, 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 no. She nods." Okay, so yeah, exactly. So first it was the clerk signs them, and it's all okay because he's been doing it for 35 years. Then it's a finger. Then it was a nod. So we're going, yeah. So they got these people, the lieutenant governor is doing this, and this some dude is just signing these acts, right? And this is our government. And we're supposed to actually, number one, believe you, and number two, if that is true, we're going to comply with this. Especially when the lieutenant governor herself said, "I must sign all the acts rendering them into law." And if she hasn't signed them, then she did not render them into law. And this is the case that we have here. And the COVID thing showed that they say stuff.
Yeah.
They act like it is, like the Wizard of Oz is acting like the Wizard of Oz, and yet there's nothing there, right? So
Yeah.
it's that's literally what's happening here in this earth, and we've got to wake up and realize we have the authority in here, not them. They're pretending to have it.
Yeah.
We believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I ask how too is because obviously Canada and Australia are both Commonwealth countries. So are you guys the same in that you're actually with Australia, we're actually registered as a corporation in the United States of America, and we actually don't even belong to the Commonwealth anymore. Is it the same for Canada?
Yeah.
Yeah. And is that what you mean by when you say like prove that you're a country? Is that what you're speaking to because they're actually a corporation?
Yeah. And they're actually a corporation operating under the Hudson Bay Charter, and I put that usually in my thing as well, and get them to rebut it, and they don't. They go silent or they run.
Yeah.
Again, same behaviors like silence or running, or both. And okay, well then, obviously I'm hitting the nail on the head because you guys can't seem to be rebutted, and you're judges, you're politicians, you're the Queen, because I wrote to the Queen about this. If the Queen doesn't know, nobody knows. So, but I get no answer from her because I'm hitting the nail on the head and exposing them for what they are. They're fakers. They posture. They've been doing it for generations, and we just don't see it because we're born into it. And we just assume that lady on the wall at the school and at the post office and the customs office and all the government. Oh yeah, she's the Queen. Really?
So in this shell game, what about the U.S.? I know they switched from the United States of America to a corporation. Is that kind of the same thing? Like, and the corporation doesn't have the authority that we think it does?
No, and every corporation is owned by somebody. All you got to do is think about that for a second.
Yeah.
I wonder who had the means and to do that. Probably the British Empire. They did. There was got away for a few years, and then we got you back because we formed a corporation, bankrupted you through various wars, and now we got you as a corporation. And they got everybody as a corporation at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think partly the Hudson Bay Company was a model of that, because it ran as a government here for 200 years.
Wow.
But it was a for-profit monopoly corporation. It was very clearly, everybody knew it. But they had courts. They were allowed to make their own laws. and they were allowed to enforce those laws and they had cannons and army, and it's like Walmart with courts, make their own laws and guns. How do you think that's going to go?
Yeah.
Wow. So we've been through that before, because that's something that people have postulated, that the privatization of things, and how all the Facebook, and we've done the banana wars, but now it's like potentially the Facebook wars, because they're operating like intelligence agencies. Some of these, like most of these big corporations. I think Coca-Cola actually did have an army at some point as well, but they operated in Latin America, and I think it's probably has something to do with cocaine as well, because that's part of their formula. So
yeah. Well, this goes back to the East India Trading Company from the Walt Disney, the Pirates of the Caribbean with Captain Jack Sparrow. That's all real. Like they're telling you stuff in there.
Yeah, for sure. We've got friends that are done a lot of like research, I would say, on the Bible, and they use. Have you heard of is it called a sephir? There's a different name for it, and it's basically the Bible that has, like, so as you're reading, you can literally look at one word, because obviously sometimes, there's things, like I know when I've read the Bible, there's things I read, I'm just like, I don't even know what that sentence means because of the old, the translations and stuff. And you can go to a specific word and they'll give you a full breakdown of the word and like the translation and all of that. So it's just like a much more, you can read the Bible in a lot of depth. And they kind of ran us through some of the stuff in there, and they brought up Pirates of the Caribbean. They said there's a lot of stuff in there that's like, there's like a lot of truth drops in there.
Yeah. Well, the East India Trading Company was, again, a monopoly. It had the biggest navy in the world. It was bigger than the Royal Navy. They had more soldiers than anybody else. It's a company. How do you think that's gonna go when they have a monopoly and they can just say, this is the law, and if you come against it, we're just gonna put a bullet in you or put you in jail or hang you.
Yeah.
And so it was, this was already done. And the East India Trading Company, they were the ones that were bringing the tea in, the Boston Tea Party, that's the East India Trading Company out of London. And so when I looked at the tea, I looked at the history of that, and the tea was, the word that I kept seeing was people were obsessed with tea. And I went, I don't think so. I think they were addicted to the tea.
Okay.
Because this obsession was, the way they're describing it was over the top. They wouldn't say the word addicted, but it was like, the obsession was like people had to have the tea, like they had to have it. And it's like,
what were
you putting in the tea?
Very good question.
Yeah.
Was this about the time
to create that market that people were, I gotta have tea, and if I don't get my tea, I'm starting to shake.
Yeah. When was the Opium Wars? Was that after the Revolution and all that?
Yeah. But this is all East India Trading Company. So when they're throwing the tea in the thing, they've got a story about it, and it had to do with taxes and the breaks and all that as well. But I got a feeling it had to do with what the tea was and what it was doing to people.
I think,
interesting.
Wasn't the East India Trading Company what Steve Falconer, Isaac and I just watched, have you looked into Steve Falconer's work, Cal?
I've heard the name, but I can't.
And the stuff he researches. So we just watched a presentation of his recently that was about like who really runs the world, because in what we're fed a lot is that like it's the Jews running the world, and that's especially with like everything that's going on with Israel now. But he kind of breaks down a lot of like he looks at the history, and he basically says it's not really, they're kind of put in those positions so like everyone kind of is against them. And then he actually, because linking it back to the British Empire, he was talking about the people that are often put in these positions of power. They always have. So he talked about presidents, the British, the royal family, and they often come from two lineages. Do you remember the names of them? I'm not going to remember them now.
No. But I get the general idea. It has something to do with the black nobility, but that might have been earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's certain lineages, and apparently Biden and Trump come from this same lineage. So again, it just goes to show.
Was it Charlemagne?
Yes.
And something else.
Yeah. So these two particular families, and none of them are Jewish. They're actually, when you look back at the history, like they hated the Jews and they wanted to get rid of them. And that's why now they put out this sort of narrative that like, it's the Jews running the world and they're the bankers and whatever, but they actually have never really had any real control.
Well, they've got control, but they're not Jews. Even Jesus was saying when he was here is, you do not descend from Abraham. I mean, that's pretty clear. You descend from the devil, your father. So there's a whole other lineage here, and there's more than one. Like if you go way back into the Bible story, especially in Enoch, where it's more clear, 200 of those that fell from the sky and other legends, but in there they're called the Watchers. They're fallen. They're angels that weren't supposed to interact in here, but they bred in, and that's where these lineages come from. There's more than one. It's not just one lineage, and they don't all get along 100%. That's also going to be their downfall. So, but these lineages are where the royals stem from. The merchant class. The merchant class was pre-banker because there were no banks, but the merchants were running everything. They had all the money, and they were doing these negotiable instruments, bills of exchange, and promissory notes that we now use as money, and we don't have no idea what the history is. And these pieces of paper have no value. They had value back then, but now they don't, and they're getting away with, I wouldn't say murder, but they have become so wealthy because of this.
Yeah.
Because our belief in these pieces of paper that have no inherent value whatsoever, but we believe they do, and therefore they just get richer and richer and richer, and then they buy stuff, land, foreclose on things. They got all these schemes that they keep running. They just keep repeating it.
Yeah.
Same process to take all the land. They want everything, and the Bible is quite clear that Adam was given dominion over all three realms: air, water, and land. There's nothing else in earth. And we lost it because of the Apple thing, but Yeshua bought it back, and they are trying to claim it on false claims and using trickery and deceit, and we believe them, and we got to stop believing them and take back what's ours. It was promised to us even through Abraham that we will inherit the earth. The meek will inherit the earth. All these things are in the Bible, and we just got to start believing that instead of these clowns that are running things now. It's a dog and pony show at this point. They are really pulling out all the stops, and I liken it to a chicken with its head cut off. You throwing blood around and it's running around like crazy, but it's about to just.
Yeah.
I see that here. It's it's interesting. Somebody was pointing that out. They're like, oh, there's they don't have guns, or you're not allowed to buy guns here. If you do buy a gun, like you have to have a registered pellet rifle, and you have to own land in order to even buy a pellet rifle. That's something I learned to shoot on when I was like 7 years old.
Here I think I think you have to have like 100 acres of land, and then you're like, oh, you're allowed because you're a farmer or whatever.
I find that insulting as a man and as an American.
An American man.
Yeah, exactly.
I take it personally. I'm like, you treat us with such disdain and distrust when you're the ones shooting civilians with rubber bullets. What are you going to call that? An inoculation? Oh, we're vaccinating you against real bullets. Like they'll find some dumb, twisted way to put it as if you're the adversary when they're the ones acting adversarial. But somebody pointed out to me that the wealthy people in, let's say, like where northern Sydney, where the wealthy live in their schools,
the North Shore,
they have private companies that have like automatic machine guns that they guard their schools with.
Really? Who did you hear this from?
Probably Roger. friend or cousin, well, family member slash friend. Anyways,
first time hearing of this, but
so
Wow.
whether or not they're fully auto, but they're like submachine gun like stuff, and you drive by their schools. He saw them during COVID, but they've got things guarded for their children.
So they don't get kidnapped or something, or
Yeah, I imagine so, but it's I mean, there's not a lot of kidnapping going on in Sydney that I wouldn't think, but especially if they're the ones that have the guns. But I was like, there is some legal precedent that allows them as a private entity to hold weapons of that caliber that are like, they've pretty much gotten everybody conditioned in Australia to think are like insane that you would even have them. But for a special class, and I don't even think it's just a special class, it's just somebody knows what legal standing they need to be in order to hold that.
Yep. Yep. So that's probably they've got some kind of PMA where people have joined something that's an association of some kind, and yeah, they got around it. This is what the Freemasons do.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's probably similar laws all the way going back to, like you said, the East India Trading Company, where they're a corporation that has I don't know what you would call it, like a privilege or a whatever that they exercise.
Yep. And they all were under charter. There was the Virginia charter, the Virginia Company. There was the Hudson Bay Company, East India Trading Company, the Dutch Company, Dutch Trading Company. All these companies had charters, and they were kind of going in, and instead of conquering places, they were going in and making deals with them, and then just starting to do commerce and taking over that way. And it was number one, cheaper. You didn't have to pay for standing armies occupying some place, because you had a corporation that had a vested interest, and they would just do it. And of course the king got a cut of everything, and it was the way to do things. And after that, sort of, because people knew what it was and they shot at them. I mean, the Boston Tea Party is that. It's like, no, we're not doing this. We know what you are. You're not the government. You're the. And the same with the Hudson Bay Company. Everybody knew it was a company, and they would shoot at them. Like they were tyrants. So they switched everything after the American Revolution. They switched all the other so-called, well, not all of them, but like a lot of countries went to this constitutional monarchy, where you still have the monarch, but then you got this other parliamentary system that is supposed to be having all the power, but it's the royals that have to sign the law. So it's like, no, you guys don't have a power. You got to get them to sign still. So, and then they're not signing. So what are you guys doing? This is all Wizard of Oz stuff. This is all fakery.
Yeah.
Posturing, and because you got guns and you've arrested a few people, well, a person like me comes along and I'm going, no, I'm not. I need you to prove who you are. I was told a bunch of things in school. Turns out that's not the reality that I'm experiencing. So who are you?
Yeah, and I wanted to ask Cal, and maybe this will be a good segue, because I'd love to get into the sort of the Babylonian stuff and what you presented at this year's Living Free Festival. But I did also want to ask, like, in terms of how they run things, right? So look at, like, in the court system, why is the Bible so important? Because I've heard a lot, they make you swear on the Bible, and I've heard of lots of stories of people going to court that, know the stuff that we know, and using things from the Bible and actually saying, like, we had a friend who can't remember what she went for, but they did the same thing with her, where they kept asking her. They asked her 3 times, and then they asked her a 4th time. And she actually said something about, something about Jesus, something about something in the Bible, and him only being asked 3 times or whatever. And as soon as she said that, the whole energy shifted. Like, you hear these stories all the time. So why is the Bible so important still within their system, even though, because obviously what they're doing is very corrupted, but they still have to swear on the Bible and do all these things that are within the Bible?
Because they have to. They don't want to. And that's a key to it. It's mostly because this is the agreement between the outside, whatever's outside the earth, and what's inside the earth. And that's very clear that, especially on this last go around with Charles, because I watched all his things live. And The first oath is to the Scottish Presbyterian Church, which is like,
Weird.
yeah, yeah. And she died on a Thursday, and they're in the room on a Saturday with 178 movers and shakers, including the Lord Mayor of London, the square mile. He's in there. They 178 people dropped whatever they were doing to make sure they were in that room. Like, what? There's more going on here than some nice little thing going on. And they all signed it after he did.
Wow.
He goes in there. He didn't want to sign it. He even says it. I don't want to be defender of the faith. I want to be defender of faith or faiths, all faiths, which sounds very correct, politically correct. It's correct on in a lot of ways, but the oath is to one faith, and that is the Bible. So what the actual words is, I will uphold the government of the Presbyterian Church of Scotland. He's not even Scottish. And so I went, what is that? What's the government of the? So I looked it up, and I saw a little YouTube thing of a guy from the Presbyterian Church of Scotland, Scottish accent and everything, and he's talking about when all the priests, etc., or whatever they call them, were ordained. He says, when you were ordained, it was a day. It was a great day. You were all nervous, and there was so much going on, and there was a couple things you signed, but you might not even remember. But here's what they are. And so this is the governing document. There's two governing documents of the Presbyterian Church, and he explains all this. The first is the Bible. There it is. That's the government of the Presbyterian Church. So he's not saying the Bible, but he's saying it in like trying to hide it.
Yeah.
The second document is the Westminster Confession of Faith, which is the first sort of Protestant document that was non-Catholic. It's very hostile towards the Catholic, actually, and calls it all kinds of names. But inside that document, it's got schedules, and the first schedule in there, again, is the Bible, 66 books. It includes these books, but not these books. And like, there it is. So it's the Bible that he's swearing an oath on. And it's the urgency that tells me, you guys are afraid of something. If you don't get that thing done, something's coming in here. And you want to be in a contract with it to make sure that that doesn't happen. And that's the only reason why, not because they like the Bible or even follow it, but they have to say the words to get the contract to establish it. So within 72 hours, he's making this oath. What's the rush? The coronation oath took a year because you got to have all the hoopla and everything. This one, they got to do it right away. And when Elizabeth did it, it was within 24 hours, and she was in Africa.
Oh, wow.
You need to get on a plane. Yeah, you need to get on a plane, get up here, and swear this oath.
Wow.
What's the urgency?
Yeah.
Is the Scottish Presbyterian Church going to take arms if this thing isn't established and start storming the gates of London? I don't think so. There's more going on. It's a spiritual contract that they've got to have established because they know God will honor his side even if they don't honor their side. But they got to establish it. So that's the urgency, the only thing that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So that's why it's still in the courts. It's literally the law. The common law is built on it. And if you read Blackstone's commentaries, he's quite clear about that. The common law is based on biblical law, period. And the Blackstone commentaries was the law book. If you wanted to become a lawyer, it was that. That was the only thing that was available, really. And even when you practiced law, went into the court, you would quote from the Blackstone. Well, here's what Blackstone says, and therefore, blah, blah. Like that was it. Even in the United States, it's grown since then. But that's the foundations were the Blackstone commentaries, and he makes it clear. Bible is the foundational thing for Western law, for like British type law, common law.
So, and it's interesting too. So it sounds like there's something to do with like it's got to be done within 3 days, because I know there's a lot of things within like commerce. It's always there's everything's in threes. And so what do you think that they're scared of? Like what is it in, like what does the Bible say about if they don't uphold their end of the contract? Like what are they scared of happening?
They're scared of Judgment Day.
Yeah, right.
So this is like almost like a plea bargain. Yeah, we're not really, yeah, we're not really running things the way, but we promise to do that. We'll uphold this. Fingers crossed behind their back.
Mm-hmm.
But God, when you enter into it, and they know this about God, God doesn't cheat. He doesn't, even if you're not holding up your end, he will all hold up his end, and they know that. So they just get him in this contract.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to be the ones to end that contract and bring them in.
Mm-hmm.
They're waiting, but we have to make our move first, make it a clear move. Then that all the gloves are off.
Yeah.
And so that's the key to understanding what's actually happening and why we are here in the first place. We've been told all kinds of things, and but really, Adam was put here to settle a claim between Lucifer and God. Lucifer wants the throne.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how it's being played out. And we are the subject matter. We're the judges. We're the prosecutor. We're everything. It's literally our choices that they're going to go by. And so there's these contracts to make sure that they don't come in, I would think. And that's the standard. So the Bible is the standard. And this is why commerce, when I got into commerce, I went, this is saying the same thing in different words.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same principles. And that's why they're running principles that are spiritual in aspect, but they're using money and commerce as the means to do it, to disguise it. And we are going into debt all the time. And the word for sin in the original language can be translated as debt. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors is sometimes how the Lord's Prayer is. Or forgive us our sins, or forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. So debts and sins are the same thing. So when you're looking at a national debt, you're looking at the national sins.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so they got us believing in money instead of God, and we are not in a good standing with money. They got it all, and we just keep doing dumb things about it. Like, running up our charge cards, and everybody's been there. It's not an accusation. We've all done it, and because we're enticed into it, and we got to stop following this nonsense and start following God again. The earth is abundant. We don't even need money, really. The trees the seed turns into a tree that has a bunch of fruit that has more seeds in it to make more trees, to make more fruit, to make more trees, to make more fruit. It's abundant. And we're told, no, it's scarce. You got to go out and do stuff you don't want to do in order to get these pieces of paper. That's how it works. And no, it's a lie.
Yeah, absolutely. So much more to
How
it.
does this tie in with what you were saying about the book of Job? You were getting into some really interesting stuff when it came to that story and the way and the little things that you had picked up on that most people, like, I've never heard about. I grew up in the church as well. I've read the book of Job. It's kind of cryptic a little bit. Not cryptic, but for someone that's new to this, it's very complicated, it seems.
Yeah, it's deep. And I was told, yeah, it's the wisdom book. So I read it a few times, and I'm like, like you said, it's like, I guess I'm just not wise.
Right.
I can't wrap my head around a lot of this stuff. What happened was after I did my 60 days, and like I said, I went back and forth in these trucks to court, and then back into jail, and then back to court, and because I was held without bail. I wasn't allowed to go out. So I was reading Job again, and it starts right in the very first chapter, because Job was a man, he was following God and he was making sure that he was covering his kids and all that. And he was very wealthy and everything was going really well. Like he was like following the instructions and his life was abundant. And then it and then it changes to like the if this was a film, you'd be changing scenes and it's the sons of God are assembling before the Most High. And it's a court. I didn't look at it like that before. And maybe I did, but not to this extent. So it starts with so now Satan's thing is, and I've been in court so much, and you don't just walk up to the thing. You have to wait till your case is called, right? You sit there and you wait, and okay, now it's my turn. So it's obviously they called Satan. So he comes forward, and the first thing is, where have you been? Now God knows everything, so it's rhetorical. And he said, I've been in the earth, walking back and forth in it. It's not on it, in it. And I went, he's remanded. He's in prison.
Mm.
He hits the wall there, he walks back, hits the wall there, he walks back, hits the wall there. Been walking back and forth in it. Can't get out. Just walking around. Maybe we'll shoot something up there. No, I can't get through that thing either. Maybe we'll build some pyramids. If you know anything about the Giza pyramid, that's another escape try, and like on and on and on and on. So anyway, and I've got some of this knowledge already. And so, but now I see, oh, he's remanded. Oh, Earth is a prison. Oh, so first, so now we've established that he's remanded and now he's appearing. So they brought him there. And so then God starts the process of whatever the case was. So it's Lucifer's case or Satan's case. Oh, Earth. How about my guy Job? Where did he come from? Why are we talking about Job? We're in some other place outside of Earth, and we're talking about Job in Satan's case.
Yeah.
There it is right there.
Yeah.
It's and so he goes, look, how about my guy Job? He's following me. He's doesn't do anything evil, and he's like just following all the rules and whatever the rules were, and he's not following you. Basically, he doesn't say that part, but it's like he's following me. And Satan puts the accusation up. Yeah, is he following you because of nothing? Is you blessed him? You got a hedge around him. He's rich. He's like everything's going really well for him. Got a point. And then he says, put your hand against him and take everything he has, and he will curse you to your face. His choice will be to curse you if you take all his stuff. And God says, I don't like this. And he doesn't do it. He says, you can do it. I'm giving you an order where you can do it, but you can't touch him. So they go and take all his stuff. All his kids die. There's fires. There's this. There's that. Everything's just gone. And he's sitting there in a pile of rubble, and his friends show up. And now we cut back to that court case. Another day, different day. And where have you been? I've been in the earth, walking back and forth in it. So it's repeated twice. Oh, so they start talking about Job again, not talking about what Satan did or didn't do or what God didn't do. And they're the litigants. And you moved me. And this is a key point about God, because a lot of people blame God for stuff. He said, you moved me. You moved the court. You put a motion in the court to do something against somebody that I love without cause. There was no cause for this. And yet you moved me. I didn't like it. But I'm giving you your day in court. And you did have a point. But through all that, still not cursing me to my face. oh, well, skin for skin, blah, blah, blah. Let me touch him and then he'll curse you to your. See, it's all about what is Job going to do? What decision is he going to make? Who is he going to keep following? And so he says, okay, you can touch him, but you can't kill him. And so he ended up with sores all over his body, and that's where the story starts. So it's just those first two chapters that I saw what was actually happening. Number one, prison is fundamental. I mean, Earth is fundamentally a prison. It's nice in here, but just before man got here, it wasn't nice before that because it said it was without form and void. Then he, let there be light, let there be water and land and and firmament and all this stuff, then the plants and then the animals and God just said it and it was done and he saw that it was good every day. So for 5 days he did that, and on the sixth day he had a discussion, and I was told it was the Trinity talking to himself, and I went, I wonder if that's correct information. It's possible he was talking to Lucifer. Because he was already here in this prison. And now we're going to make man and get into this agreement about man, give them dominion. So here's what it says is, let us make man in our image and give them dominion over our image and likeness, and give them dominion over the fish of the sea, birds of the air, and everything that creeps upon the land, which would include Lucifer. He was walking back and forth in it. So that's all the realms in Earth. That's full the full dominant position in all any possible thing of Earth. It's air, water, or land. It's also solid, gas, and liquid. So it's elemental. We have creative power at a very elemental level. It's also land, air, water, which is law, LAW. So it's the common law, admiralty law, and spiritual law. All these things are all tied in there. So the words image and likeness, one of them is about how a statue is, like the form, like the appearance of it. The other is more like in my stead. So he's acting in my stead or in my likeness as agent for. And that's where all this dominion comes in. So we have, by the time we eat the apple, we have both parties' natures within us. We have God and the other side. So we are in the image of both. This is why you got to deal with your own stuff. People call it all kinds of different things, and then it's our choices. What are we going to follow? Are we going to follow those urges, those primal things that kind of get us into big messes, or are we going to actually follow the breath that was put into us, that God part? And that's what Job is telling us. It's what Job does is who's going to win this case.
That's very, very interesting. So based on that story you've just told, does that almost make, like the story of Adam and Eve? So what we're told is that because Eve ate the apple and she gave into temptation, that's what's sort of cursed mankind, like the fruits. But are you saying that there already was evil here? Like Lucifer was already here before man?
He was already here.
Yeah.
But so verse 26 of Genesis 1 says, let us make man in our image. And it's an offer. So how about we do this? It doesn't give all the details, but that's why you put these things together and you go, oh, that's what he's talking about there. Let us agree to make man in our image and our likeness and give them dominion over everything. And then and if you can get him, I'm putting myself in this. I will whatever you can do to this man, I will honor up in the real realm, is what's being said. So the very next verse, God makes man singular. So there's an agreement, and then he says, and God made man in his image and likeness and gave them dominion. So originally Adam didn't know good from evil,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what the fruit was. And so he's carrying on. We don't even know how long he carried on. But then they had another thing. It's not good. Again, it was like talking to himself or like talking to the other party. It's not good that Adam is alone. So we'll make him a helpmeet. Now, that doesn't put the blame on Eve because Eve actually came from Adam. They're literally on a cellular level the same being. It's like a cloning event because he put Adam into a deep sleep and pulled a rib out, and then yeah, and then formed Eve, and then she's the one that was that ate the fruit first, and then gave it to Adam, and however that transpired. But that's how we got to have both aspects, and we may not have been in bodies like this. We may have been more because God came in to walk in the cool of the day like he did every day with Adam, and they were hiding. And he goes, "Where are you?" And again, rhetorical question. God knows where everything is. So it's for our benefit in the context of the story. Where are you? Like, what have you done? Like, where have you gone? Like, you've changed the situation, the switch, or the situation has changed. And then they said, "Well, we were hiding for you because we were naked." He said, "Who told you you were naked?" Because you didn't even know anything about naked before.
Yeah.
And then he asked, "Did you eat the fruit?" And then Adam blamed it on Eve. Well, the woman that you gave me, I actually tried to blame it on God in a certain sense. You gave me this woman, and she ate the fruit, and then she gave it to me, and I ate it. And regardless of all that, that started the whole situation that we're in now.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
Where we do stuff that we know we shouldn't do, and we wish we hadn't. All that, that's why. It's because we have two different opposing natures, and we got to start understanding that and knowing what to do. Do you want to keep following this, or do you want to actually follow that? And they've got all kinds of technology and TVs, and they're just bombarding us with like everything possible at this point to get us to number one, not understand why we're here, and number two, stay in fear and stay in all these negative emotions.
Yeah, I love the way that you explain that because I think it does speak so much to the nature of our realm being duality, and that I think it is unavoidable to have, and look, you see this in the New Age movement a lot, is this complete repression of any darkness, of dealing with any of your quote unquote bad, negative stuff, and everything's love and light and whatever. And that doesn't work. You can't just ignore it. Just be like, oh, that's not part of me. And I think it is such an important part of self-development is facing those, facing the shadow, so to speak, facing that darkness. Because again, and we talk about this a lot on this show, is that you can't go out, and we say this a lot in the Truth or Freedom movement, where people are always fighting something external and all of their focus is external and they get nowhere and they're stuck in anger and hatred and, all this, they just get nowhere. You see it all the time. And my belief is that because they haven't faced anything within themselves, they haven't faced the darkness within themselves. So how can you expect to do anything in the external world that actually, has any positive result when you can't even look at those things within yourself?
Correct. The outside world is the reflection so you can see where you are. Really, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like when you look in the mirror and you see red stuff on your face, oh, I guess I should maybe clean that off. Don't pretend it's not there.
Yep.
That's not helping anybody. So we got to come to Yeshua said it best. You will know the truth and the truth will set you free. It's that simple. Like it's like when the Wizard of Oz in the movie, when the curtain goes back, the wizard is gone
Hmm.
and it cannot come back. You can never get anybody to believe in that again because you saw the mechanism.
Yeah.
And at first they didn't believe it. You should actually go and watch that. You should see what Dorothy's first words were when I'm the, you know, I'm the Wizard of Oz, the guy behind the curtain. I don't believe you. It's like, wow, that's telling a lot, actually.
Mhm.
You just saw it,
Yeah.
and yet you don't believe it. You still want to believe in that thing up there,
Mm.
that it's going to somehow set you free. It's not, and it never did, and it never would have. And they were free the whole time. That story is telling a lot. So, or that movie, and that's what we're in. Like once you see it, there's a lot of work to do. It's not like we've got to hit it like a critical mass of people who get this, and then it's gone, right? So because we're all in this together. I hate to say that, but um
It's for
because that's
the
being
greater
used
good, Cal. We're all in
yeah,
this
yeah,
together
yeah.
and it's for the greater good. Say it
Yeah.
like a mantra now.
Get your popcorn. We got this under control. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So to that point, I'd love to get into this because I know this is a huge area with this kind of work. And I know that, like, I know my mum has learned a lot from you. Like, she went to court a couple of years ago now. And it was for it was interesting. She had two separate cases. They ended up being heard on the same day. One was a COVID fine, which she knew was absolute rubbish, obviously, but it was before they'd thrown them all out. She got a fine for being outside of her 5 kilometer radius, which was ridiculous. And I mean, and that's a whole story. Like I got the whole thing on video because obviously, you know, you want to document everything that happened. And it's interesting too, Cal, because there were also some rookies there that day. And we could tell they were rookies. And you could see the guy who was, I don't know what, sergeant, like the boss, the higher up guy, he just stood back and watched. He didn't say anything. So it was very interesting to watch what happened, how it played out, especially knowing that they really didn't have any, there is no jurisdiction. Like there was no laws that, you know, founded what they were doing. And so she went to court, and then the other was just like a parking fine. And so, yeah, she was able to have them heard on the same day. And she did so much work beforehand. Like obviously she did, you know, because she presented herself, she did an affidavit, she did all the paperwork. So she had to learn all of that stuff. But then spiritually, she did so much. Like she actually did something she learned from you, where she actually went and spoke her affidavit over. We've got a body of water on our property. And I'd love for you to speak to that in your experience, how you came to doing that and what you found came of it. But she did that, and she just had this huge transformation from the whole experience. She got a really positive result. It was so fun. I wasn't there, but she was saying like, there's a lady that went with mum who is very well known in the common law space in Australia, and she's been to court, and she's constantly fighting, very angry. She's a great woman, though. I love her, but she knew this judge, and she said, "Oh, she's a hard judge." Like she hated this woman because she was constantly in there and doing the common law thing. And so mum was like, "Oh, okay." So she goes in. Mum was like, this judge, she was basically feeding mum like exactly what to say. Like mum answered one of the questions. The judge goes to her, "Now, are you sure? Are you sure that's what?" And mum was like, "Oh," and then she like changed her answer. So it was just the energy going into it. And then this transformation she had like on a spiritual level, where it just brought her to this deeper knowing of who she is in terms of like, you know, her connection to God and who she is on this earth. And so there's so much there, you know, with that. So I'd love to hear your experience of like speaking over the water, how you came to start doing that. If you want to explain like what that means and you know, and for you, like what the results were when you did that.
Well, going by I can't remember the guy's name, Yamamoto or the water guy.
Emoto. Yep.
Emoto, yeah. So I studied all that years ago, and I was doing orgone generators and doing frequencies. I was doing all the 428 frequencies on the resins, and I was getting into coils and all kinds of stuff. So I knew about the water, and we're 70% water. And Yeshua also would go out in a boat, mostly for the amplification that comes across water. But when you speak to water, it hears you, like it takes it on and spreads it and amplifies it. So I went to the ocean. I lived near on the Pacific Ocean, and so I spoke this thing because I knew it would touch all the water in all the whole realm, like all of Earth, right? So it was a speaking. So I went out on a rock, just so I was out past the shore, and I read the whole thing out loud. And there were some seers there, like people who see, and they said so many beings have showed up for this.
Wow.
And she knew some of them, but she says, I've never seen anything like this. Like they have come from all over whatever like the universe, I guess, to witness this, what you're doing. So this is significant. She goes, I can't remember some of the names she said. Michael and Gabriel were there. I think she said uh, one of the disciples, John, showed up, or it was one of the fishermen anyway. He was there. Uh, and then these other beings that she had never seen before, they were all there. So it was something significant that happened. So that was spoken, and then I mailed it to the queen, mailed the whole thing to the queen, and she didn't answer. And then people saw her. Some couple of people who were relate knew what I had done, and there was a couple of people randomly who had seen stuff. One guy he said he was in a spaceship, and I didn't know this guy. He didn't know what I had done, but he said the queen was there, and they were taking all her emblems and everything off, like all her stuff off.
Mm.
Wow.
This is all right around that time, right? When I did it, I gave her 30 days, and I assumed that the Sabbaths wouldn't count. So I think there was 4 Sabbaths in that period, whatever there were, 4 or 5. Anyway, so I was expecting it to be like on day 34 or 35 that this would actually, she would go into default. On day 30, I didn't know it was day 30 because I wasn't looking for anything. But when I woke up, just as I'm still half asleep and kind of not fully present, I heard this massive cheering. It was like like the universe was cheering, and I went, "What was that?"
Wow.
And then as I woke up more, I kind of it faded, but I was like, "Wonder what that was." And then I went, "Hang on, it's day 30," because I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't looking for it, so it wasn't a figment of my imagination. I was expecting it, and so we went into default on the actual 30th day, and they were just partying.
It's amazing.
Yeah, very interesting. And so in terms of, so speaking of the water, obviously, yeah, has a lot of power in that it carries memory, it carries everything. What about the power of prayer? Because I know you've had some pretty incredible experiences as well with prayer and group prayer, and especially with like in terms of like with court cases and things like that.
Well, after the mandamus, which I sent to the Queen, this document, it was thick too. It cost $75 to send it there to
Oh, wow.
Buckingham Palace. A couple of things happened. I was stretching, trying to get rid of some of the stuff that gets stuck, as we were talking before, and you can do it physically. You can do it. There's a bunch of ways you can deal with this stuff, and it's all one's just as valid as the other. Um, and sometimes you got to do a bunch of different things. But anyway, I was trying to get my hips to move, and they were really stuck. I had some stuff in there. I still do on one in particular, but I stretch. I couldn't. I was like, it was just locked. There was a certain point, it would not budge past there. I'm like, what is that? That can't, I got to be able to move more than that. That can't be like the limit. And in my head, a thought came, use the mandamus. I'm like, what? What does the thing I wrote to the queen have to do with my hip? That's a ridiculous thought. Like, why would I even think that? I'm like, but I've had these before, right? So I went, oh, okay, well, all right. I'm calling the mandamus into this thing, and I'm taking the authority that was given to me because of that, and hip moved. And I'm like,
Oh,
oh, okay,
wow.
what is going on? And I'm skeptical, right? I'm like, oh, no, 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 I don't want to deal with this because I have to actually acknowledge that that happened and figure out why. Because I'm not going to go woo woo. And even though I sound like that, but I'm not. So it's like, oh boy. So, like you said, what happens in my body is what happens in the earth. They're really not separated. And you can get to the point where you're what you say, especially if you come from a point of authority, it's done
Mhm.
as if you are God. That's not what I'm not saying you are God because you're not. You're agent for. So you have that ability.
Mhm.
Like I said, we lost it for a bit, but it got it back with the death and resurrection. So everything was paid. All the sins were paid. All the debts were paid.
Mhm.
They keep pretending like it's like we're in this and we keep acting like it is, but it shouldn't be.
Mm.
We shouldn't be living in under this anymore. Just like when you get an inheritance, and if you don't know about it, well, then you still scraping around trying to, you know, get $20 so you can pay your rent, not knowing that there's $1 million over there. You know, your late grandfather or great uncle or whatever left you, and if you're unaware of it and you don't understand that, well, I'm the trustee of it, and if you're not coming, well, I'm going to pay myself
Mhm.
reasonable amount. So this is the situation that we're in, and we've got to realize this. So what happened? Another thing that happened was I used to pray, especially against spirits, and I would get some resistance. I would get arguments back, and where's you, who are you, and all that kind of stuff, and I would battle through it. But all of a sudden, it was like if I just started to say words, they were running like they were. I'm like, what's going on? Why is why all of a sudden do I have this apparent authority?
Mm.
'Cause I didn't have it like that before, but it was because of that document. So a lot of things changed at that point. Once I realized this, because it takes me a while to own up to it or accept it, basically. And then my authority was quite high. And well, it is, it's full dominion. It got to the point where they called in a bunch of beings that were very high level, probably not even mentioned in the Bible. I don't really know, but these were like what you would call benevolent.
Hmm.
So they weren't demons, but they were starting to like the attention they were getting.
Mm.
So they were starting to, they weren't they weren't involved in evil per se, but they were called in to give account. Like they were all called in. And I don't know what they were because I still don't understand that. It was way out of my pay grade, really. And but I had the authority, and I came to them, and they're like, "Who are you?" No, this is you don't come and tell me that I got to go talk to God. Like, not doing it. Well, you have to. I said, it's not an if and or anything like that. And my authority comes because of a mandamus written to the queen. Well, it was the queen has nothing to do with me. Apparently, it does. Go. And they were like, what's going on? Right? They were dragged away. And so I went, whoa, I got to be really respectful of this because this is out of my purview. Like what that one incident, it was like these, I don't know what these beings are, but I couldn't accuse them. Like they look pure to me, but there was something that they had to go and actually talk to the creator about it. And I'm sure they all got straightened out. But the fact the fact was they didn't think that I had the authority to actually make them go, and I did.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Dottie and the work that she does. You know, Dottie. And it's interesting because she's always, I mean, she was the one that first person I'd heard talk about this. And it just makes so much sense to me now about how she often talks about the courts, like God's courts, and it's a very similar system. And but I would say it's more like true justice is done in those courts. And Dottie's very much like that. And I've learnt so much from her in this, you know, in terms of the spiritual realm and how it works, because Dottie has that authority. And, you know, she often, she told lots of stories about, casting, demonic entities out from people and things like that. And that's one of the things that she says that she doesn't like about the church is this big thing. And it's like and they're asking it questions and it becomes this big thing. And she's like, it's just giving that entity the attention that it wants. It's giving it more time here. She's like, I just don't, it's like that, literally like that. She goes, and it's done. And I tell it to leave. I don't ask it any questions. And yeah, I think we have a lot to learn from that. It's the authority. And I think that's why, bringing it back to this, going through a lot of this, this stuff, especially like having to go and show up in court, it really does come down to, you hear it a lot in the common law space about knowing who you are. And I think if you don't know who you are on a fundamental level, on that very deep level, you don't have the authority. That's unless right. You know who you are. Yeah.
And they test you. That's what the judges there, they'll yell at you. They'll do all kinds of stuff. And you just got to hold your ground as if you're God. And I don't mean it in a weird way. It's we're here as agents we have his signing. We can sign on his behalf. Put it like, if you want to put it that way, we can use his name. We can do things in his name. So we're given that full autonomy with the full power of God, the whole thing. Like it's incredible what we can do. We're just told a bunch of other things and we believe these things. And just like the Wizard of Oz, you got to go get the ruby slippers, or you got to do this and you got to do that. And it's not true. None of it. We have the full inheritance now, like legally, and we're just not coming and taking it. And they're taking it by default. That's all. That's the only thing they've got. They can't create. They can't do anything. They got to get us to do it. And once we realize the actual truth in here, we will be set free. And that's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah, I love that. And I'd love to get your take on something, Cal, because often, we hear, especially in our spaces, it's very well known about, the quote unquote elites, or Alexet calls them the parasitic class, which I much prefer. And what you just said, like these people, they can't create, they've essentially sold their soul, right? And you talked earlier about like the choice. So where we have both within us, but it comes down to our free will and our choice. So for those that choose evil, choose Lucifer, Satan, whatever you want to call it, and sell their soul, so to speak, do you think there's ever a point where they can choose God again, or do you think once it's done? Yeah
you can be forgiven for everything. See, the death of Yeshua, like the blood, he satisfied all that blood stuff. That's why it had to be a death like that. Not that God wanted to kill his own son. It had to satisfy, it had to actually qualify in the system that was, because we allowed it. It had to go to a blood type sacrifice in order to satisfy the whole thing. But they weren't expecting it to backfire on them like that. So, and then he rose from the dead. So everything has been paid. including people making choices and going way down that other path. They can literally, yep, got that one covered too. Actually did that for you. That's how deep this is.
Yeah.
So yeah, even the most heinous things that have happened in the earth, Christ paid the penalty for it. It's sobering, and it's deep,
Yeah.
and it's huge. So, but that said, a lot of them really believe that Satan can win this. Win
That's
this
why
case. They understand exactly what I'm saying. They know what I'm saying is how it works, and they're just on the side that's doing all the manipulation. They understand it and keep us in the dark. Put these overlays over everything so that we can't see what's actually happening. And they want to take us even further, more into like a digital world where we'd have to struggle just to get back to this illusion here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a concerted effort for people to try to erase the reality of Christ, of his both of him actually existing, and with that, any authority, any debts paid, any freedom. And I find that to me, it's pretty absurd. But once you have just a few interactions with this kind of authority, or you can see like, others like you that have these stories that are just real, and time again, where there's, entities that are very real that are affecting somebody, and they call upon the name of Jesus Christ, whether it's that word that is new in our tongue than it was when it was Yeshua's day. It still holds authority, and there's often like it's an immediate reaction. It's not like, it's like now. And I'll never be swayed by the people that try to make the claim that like what do they call it? Caesar's Messiah, that the Romans made up Christ in order to throw off, to confuse the Jews and all this stuff. It's like, it's really absurd when you just go and look at what the real thing, stories and proofs that are out there. And it's not like the same as like physical proofs, but it's that knowing. It's like, it's not just a belief. It's not, I was told this when I was a kid and I just believe it. It's like, you can actually stand on it. And it's kind of akin to walking on water. It sounds so absurd, but there's a correlation to that. There's a reason why these stories are there, and they're not going anywhere. There's a reason, like you said, why it's even brought into the courts. It's not even brought into the courts. The courts wouldn't exist without this.
Exactly. If they could get the Bible out of the courts, they would have a long time ago.
Yeah.
You can't. It's foundational. It's always in evidence.
Yeah. And I think there's just so much discernment now, because I know, as someone that didn't grow up religious, I mean, I was christened Serbian Orthodox, but like we never went to church. My mum was raised Catholic, and she always knew that there was something wrong with Catholicism. And it wasn't until later on in life that she kind of learned more and more. And what I understand of Catholicism now is that it is actually satanic. Like if you actually go into a lot of the churches and stuff, they have a lot of, satanic symbolism and things like that. And, and I think there is also this thing that, I don't know, there's, some sects of Christianity that almost worship Jesus over God. And to me, that's a little bit of that, like Satanism is in like worshiping man over God. And I don't think they mean it like that, but there's a lot of things in the way that things are said. And like you take the name of Jesus Christ and whatever, but it's almost dismissive of God. Like God is Jesus. I don't know. I just think it's really confusing. I'm like, yes, Jesus, the story of Jesus, like it's very, very significant, but it's also like God is the all. God is the one. So yeah, I just think there's a lot of discernment. I think especially we've seen since COVID, I think we've seen a lot of people going back to Christianity, which is great. But I think I've also seen a lot of people go back to quite a dogmatic version of Christianity. And I think, again, it's because they want some semblance of certainty because the world has become so unstable. So yeah, I just want to I think it's a good point to make, though, that, and that's why I think reading, like for the first time, I've had such an aversion to the Bible, to religion, to all of that for most of my life. And for the first time this year, I was like, I really want to pick up the Bible and read it. I think it's very, very important for each individual to read so that they can use their own discernment instead of just listening to, the pastor or the priest or whatever tell them what it means. Because I think a lot of people are led astray that way.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to pick it up and remove all connotations and preconceived ideas about it and just read it for yourself
Yeah.
and, and come to your own conclusions. The word of God is in there and like the Rhema, the living word, and it will lead you. It'll show you stuff. It'll reveal itself to you because you're part of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why it's here. It's like a Hansel and Gretel sort of thing to make sure that there's something here that we could literally hang on to and find the truth still, because as you can see, it's pretty confusing. I mean, look at the Charlie, whatever his name was, and well, this guy's doing that, and this guy's doing that, and this guy's doing this, and this, like, it's like there were so many scenarios all done at the same time on purpose to cause confusion.
Yeah.
And arguments and splits and fear and all that. So the deception is, off the rails right now. It's off the charts, and they're just trying to keep us distracted enough to not notice that God is getting close.
Yeah.
And when it does come in here, that thing from, I think it's Revelation 21, it's described, it's a cube. Aliens! Let's shoot it. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was it like it says like the skies will be rolled back like a scroll, like he's peeling the top off of a sardine can,
And there's like a lightning bolt or fire or whatever, how it's described a couple of different ways, and it's instantaneous. We're done with that.
Wow. Yeah, looking forward to that. I mean, it's going to be, shit your pants season for that,
Yeah. It's called the great and terrible day of the Lord, and it's just that. It's great and it's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you have to say, Cal, just on that point? And because there were some other things that you brought up. A lot of people say, there's a lot of pretty gnarly stories in the Bible. And often people will say, well, if God loves us so much and God's all benevolent, why would God allow these terrible things to happen? Like, why would God allow Lucifer to roam the earth and sort of do the things that he does? Like, what do you say to that?
I say there's an ongoing court case, and he keeps putting this stuff up. He's called the accuser of the brethren. He accuses day and night. Yeah, well, let me do this to him. Let me do that to him. And God actually gets the blame for it, but it's not God doing it. It's like, I gotta give him his day in court. I can't just God him. I can't just erase him, because then there's going to be an appeal and we're going to have to go around this again. So you got to remember, he's being manipulated because of his traits. God is just. God always can't lie and can't do these things. So Lucifer just knows. Yeah, the reason why Job is following you is because you got a hedge around him. He's rich. I can't deny that. I do have a hedge around him. Well, let me take it. Actually, he says, you take it down. And God doesn't do that. He says, no, I will allow you to take it down, but I'm not doing it. Now, God's getting the blame for a lot of stuff. If you read Enoch 1, chapter 9, you'll see what happened at the time of Noah. And Yeshua said, as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the end. So he's giving you a hint. Follow that. It's going to repeat. The watchers were watching all the mayhem from the Nephilim, from these half-breeds, the elite, now we call them, or bankers, or Jews, or what, there's so many names for them.
Yeah.
Tartarians. The same mayhem was coming. There was cannibalism. There was just absolute debauchery, like out of control. They were eating each other. There was just an absolute nightmare. Then the earth cried out. And if you see all the spraying and everything they're doing to the earth is crying out. It's a living thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the earth cried out. Now there was four watchers, and they were watching. They didn't intervene. They did nothing. They were watching. And then the earth cried out, and they still watched. Then men cried out and said, "Take our suit." See, there's the court case, to the Most High, our cause. So they went up there. Okay, now there's some action happening because the earth cried out, and then men cried out. They go to God, and they explain who God is, because it's like, you know everything. There's nothing hidden from you. You're the Most High. Like, so you get the idea. This is the prime creator, whatever name you want to say. You know what's going on in the earth. You see what they've done. You've seen all the nastiness, and they bred with women, and they got these giants, and there's all this total mayhem going on. You know this. There's nothing you don't know, and yet you do nothing. And it's not an accusation. This is for our benefit. He couldn't do anything. But now the earth has cried out, and men have brought forth their suit. And before the words are out of their mouths, he's like, boom, tell Noah to get in the boat, lock that guy up. We're flooding the place. That's what we need to have happen here now. We got to be involved. They can't move until we say move.
There is something really,
because we're here in both capacities of both the adversaries, or the litigants, and it's us that has to go, no, we don't want to do this anymore. This is total chaos, and kids are being just, I don't even want to get into it, but we gotta put our petition up there, and then God will go, now men are actually coming to me because they're complaining about you. We're shutting you down. All your stuff that you keep coming up here with, because men, as we agreed back in the garden, are the ones who are going to be the choosers, and they're choosing me, and they want this stopped. Boom. It'll be that fast.
And for anyone that's hearing that, and I've heard this argument put forth a lot, especially by like atheists or people that want to mock it, or people that just naturally like see that and they're like, well, God's not really that strong then. If he has to wait on us to say something, then, what's the point? But I think the point is, I think that leads to why this whole thing exists, why we're here in the first place. It's a big question that people ask. Why are we here? What's our purpose? That points to the purpose is God built us or made us for this relationship, for this interaction. And he's withholding his hand, not because he doesn't care or he's not just, but it's for our benefit. If he just came in and wiped away all the evil and we never actually stood up in the power that we were created to hold, that we were mandated and given, we would not benefit and grow from that. We would not actually know and feel what it's like to be the extension of his arm.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
That spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by default, we're the extension of the other arm. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's a big problem.
We're watching all this stuff and we're talking about it and we're believing it and we're scared of it. We're whatever. We're giving it energy. And that's the key to this. We got to stop that and go, God, yeah, I want to follow God. And yeah, by the way, can you help get this nonsense out of here? Because it's that fast.
Yeah.
We're done.
It is.
We are aware of what's happening, and we're choosing you, not this craziness revolving around money and power and sex and all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll give you an example of how this, for people that may not have heard this story yet, but the chemtrails, right? So the stuff they're spraying in the sky. And I've done this enough times to where I'm pretty sure like we're at like 8 or 9 times now where there's been a really prominent chemtrail pretty much from horizon to horizon. And I'll stand out there and I'll look up and I'll speak to it and I'll say, I do not consent to you spraying your chemicals and your weapons and whatever else in the sky disperse. And I try to make sure that I try to be very careful that I'm not trying to be like a wizard and be this big, powerful person.
Yeah, it's not coming from
ego. But it's like, we need to speak this because they continue their stuff. And I have you have a problem with injustice. I have since I was a kid. I want justice, but I know that I have a part to play in it. And that word and the things disperse within about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 is like the max that I've noticed. And there was one particular time when I was going from my place, my parents' place in Wyoming, I was going to California, and I was camping in the middle of nowhere. I think it was in Arizona. And I had slept near a fire, and I woke up and I was putting away my camp, and these planes keep flying over middle of nowhere, like for hundreds of miles in all directions. And these big chemtrails come over, and I can tell the difference between a chemtrail and a contrail. Like, these were spraying, like they were spraying stuff, and they were starting to spread out and turn into like that cloud cover. And I did this 7 times in a row. That's no accident. On this day, 7 times in a row, look up and say, I do not consent to you spraying the stuff, disperse. Like, almost with like this indignance, like, how dare you poison this land? And they disappeared. There was like one little chunk left at that end of the horizon and a little tiny little bit at that horizon, and everything above me was cleared. And I have this experience. I don't see them a whole lot over my head anymore. And if I do, I'll interact with them. But I have friends that see them all the time. They're all over the place. And I'm like, I'm outside. We live in the bush a lot, but I'm like, I'm outside. I don't see them a lot. You know, I notice when it's cloudy, but when I'm out there, I don't see these like planes spraying like I used to all the time.
Yeah, I find the same thing too. And it's a different energy. Like, I know when I first started to become aware of them spraying, I was very angry. Like, I'd always like look up and go, bloody bastards. And, you know, there was this anger there. Whereas now it's like, it's more like that energy. But I just want to bring up another time that Isaac did this when like living here. And he's got a video of this. He saw the chemtrail going over. He did his thing. And not even like 2 minutes later, he looks up at the sky and this thing has dispersed into what looked like an angel. It was like this angel in the sky, and he's got a video of it. And
it felt very strange because it felt like it was like hovering over me. Like, it felt close. In the video, it looks a bit further away, but it was like it just had these wings that spread out. And
yeah,
I guess message received.
And I think it says a lot about, because I think a lot of people, and like a lot of people would listen to this, I'm sure, and go, okay, well, we're just not going to, you know, we're just going to go and do our own thing and we're just not going to interact. But I think that's also a bit of a trap, because there has to be like this, you know, again, there's a lot to say about the spoken word. You know, I work with human design, and the throat center is the manifestation center. And that is how we manifest, how we bring things about. We have to speak them out. It's so powerful, our words. And so that's one element of it. But also, like you said, Cal, it's about saying, like, it needs to be this energy of like, no, we're not doing this anymore. We choose God. And I think by just saying, oh, well, you know, not even saying, but just by going, oh, okay, well, we know all that's rubbish. We're just going to do our own thing. It almost is still like this tacit agreement. It's just like this ignorance of like, we're just going to ignore it. We're going to do our own thing. And like, that is not enough.
No, you can't ignore it. You know, in Revelation 18, there's a voice from heaven. It says, come out of her. But then 2 verses later, it says, interact with her. Like, take the cup that she's been giving you, fill it double, and hand it back. So there's an interaction. There's an action. We have to take some action in here. You can't be passive. You can't be grabbing the popcorn. That's what they're telling you to do. Don't do that. Get involved. Do whatever it is you're here to do, and get it done. As you know, as much as you can. Because it's faith without works is dead. There's all kinds of verses about it, and we've got to be active here, and the voice, like you said, and the heart center, like that. If your heart and your mind are in agreement, you're kind of on, like your switches are all on, and whatever comes out of your mouth is just instantaneous. It's like fast, and it's getting faster. I know some people who are manifesting very fast now.
Yeah.
So something's changing. So It's getting closer and closer, but enough of us have to wake up and understand this and actually move this thing.
Yeah.
Don't sit back. You cannot hide in Earth. Like, they can't hide in Earth, and we can't hide in Earth either. There's no running away. There's no away.
Mm-hmm.
Still in Earth. And if you know anything about the wildfires,
Yeah.
you're not going to hide. Not like a community or anything like that. It's not happening. So if you think that you're going to, run away and they're just going to leave you alone, you're wrong. I'm not speaking ill, but they have the ability to burn you out, and they've demonstrated it.
They will.
So that's not a viable choice. I'm not saying not to do it, but don't think that you're away from something, because you're not. You're in Earth still.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, just bringing it back to like the energy behind that is so important, because again, it's very easy to go, well, we're not doing that. We're going to fight it. We're going to be angry, and that's it. Those things just never, and you say it a lot, like with activism, it's like, I think people have good intentions, but the way they go about it is almost, again, still feeding into that system. They want the chaos. They want the division. They want the anger. And I think it's so important that moving forward, we need to say no. We need to stand in our authority. We need to do those things, but it needs to come from a place of, like, really, essentially, it needs to come from a place of peace and love and all those good things within us, but still being able to express, Isaac and I talk about this a lot, because we were listening to a podcast the other day, and they're talking about unconditional love. And Isaac gets a little bit like, it's not everything's all love. Like, we need to be aggressive sometimes, and we need to be, and it's like, we can have both. I think it's important to have both, because we still need to be assertive, but we can be assertive without being like super aggressive and angry and divisive and feeding into all of that as well.
Yeah. I mean, even Yeshua, he when it came to the bankers or the money changers at that time, he overturned the tables.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just telling Lex about that story about he sat down and started braiding a whip. So he took plenty of time. He was very deliberate in what he did. And then bam, like he's out there flipping tables, whipping. And I was like, he wasn't doing that with, I mean, maybe he had a smile on his face. I don't know. But like, sounds like he was like pretty, there was some anger involved. And I was really debating a little bit about the word hatred. I was like, it's got a lot of weight, that word hatred. But when you look up what it means, it's like, it's as simple as like no more, like putting an end to something, or like drawing a line in the sand, like being decisive.
Yeah, I'm actually going to look up the definition, because we were talking about this and I was curious about what the actual definition is.
Yeah, because there's places in the Bible that I thought were interesting, because I had this out with my family. I'm a bit of a, I'll argue, not as much anymore, but especially when I woke up to what they were doing with the children, and there's things like that my family needed to reconcile, like needed to be said. And I was saying that, and I was like, I hate these actions. I could even say I hate the people that do this to the children. And they're like, no, we're not supposed to hate this and that. I was like, King David in Psalms, I believe, said, the Lord taught me to hate my enemies. I don't know what that ultimately means, but he was saying that. And there is a utility for it, but obviously it's got to be with the right heart and the right spirit. And it's not just to be like out of control and lashing out with like this unbridled, like venom and rage.
Well, the definition is to dislike intensely or passionately, feel extreme aversion for or extreme hostility toward, or to detest.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's what's happening to the children. I detest that. I can't stand it. Mm-hmm. And God hates it too. There's quite a few verses where God hates certain things, and it's that don't touch the kids. He hates like scales that are like when you cheat and that kind of, he hates that.
Yeah. He also hates it when you're like you said, when you just run away and you don't take action. The lukewarm, he said, I'll spit you out of my mouth. Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of these stories too, like even what the story you were just telling of Jesus, where he like turned the tables and, you know, braided the whip and did all that. And then even the relationship you were talking about earlier, Cal, with our relationship with God, it really just reminds me of this parent. It's like this parent-child relationship. And so often, a lot of parents will relate to this. They often have to do things with their children that they don't like, you know, especially when it comes to disciplining them. And in that moment, no one really likes what's going on, but it's like it has to be done because there is like the overarching reason is for good. It's so that they learn the lesson. It's so that they know right from wrong, like whatever it is. And I really think that is our relationship. You know, I mean, it's said so much throughout the Bible, like our Father. And, you know, a lot of people say it's, you know, it's the patriarchy and all of this. And it's just like, I just see it as it's like a parent-child relationship.
Yeah. And he acts more like a dad than a mom. I mean, that's
exactly.
Right.
so he's not male or female. Like it's not a thing.
Yeah.
But you know, he's loving and all that. You know, he gets a bad rap because the court is constantly being moved. That's what the Job is telling us. Like there's accusations up there, and he has to actually entertain these things because of the situation that has come up where he's claiming the throne of God, and God is the judge in his own court case.
Yeah.
He has to go carefully. He can't just.
Yeah. And that's, people have to remember that applies to this realm. I don't know about other realms, if there are other realms, you know, but it's almost like that's what this place is designed for. So that's why he upholds that rule. And he's not like, you know, I'm just going to do everything my way, clear out all the evil in one instant snap. It's like he set this up. I kind of liken it to a school, like a training ground for us. You know, we're in this cosmic scheme of things. We're very young souls. Yeah. Maybe we're infinite. Maybe we were always there. But I think I can't say I know, but I think that we were created like at the soul level. We began when this realm began, or maybe shortly after, or maybe there's still more coming in. But it does operate kind of like a training ground.
Yeah, well, the breath of God was put into Adam, so that's the eternal part. That's the part they're trying to breed into. They're trying to capture. They're trying to kill. All these things, right? So it's that God gene or the God particle, and they're trying to still beat God. And God put us here. There's rules of engagement. God follows them. They don't, and He hates that. But He's bound. He's not going to just wipe them out. They were cast down here a long time ago because there was a coup. A third of the angels went along with this coup, and it says they were cast down into earth. It doesn't say when that happened, but if you think about it happening before we got here, before Genesis, everything starts to make sense. They were already imprisoned in this thing, and then He made it nice just before He put man in here. But it's still kind of a construct that's meant to hold these other beings in there until they get through this court case. And we're almost at the end. Once that's done, well, we move on now. You know, that's now complete. But God has to be very patient because Lucifer is a master litigator, and he knows God's traits. He knows how to play those.
Yeah.
That's why when those guys are doing the oath, like the king, he knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what the situation is here. He knows what his heritage is. They're taught this stuff. They go through the sacrifices. When those 10 native kids were taken in BC here, 2 of them escaped, but he was there. He was only like 14, but he was there. And the other 8, you never saw them again. So he's been trained in this from childhood. He knows who he is. He knows what this
King
is.
Charles.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And one guy died, and they found the other guy. He was around my age. like I don't remember this story because we didn't hear this type of thing.
Mm.
But they found one guy and he remembered it, and he says, "Yeah, we had to kiss her boots, um, and they were going to bring him out to testify, murdered the day before the court case."
Wow.
Yeah.
How blatant they are! It's like they just don't care. Just kill
Well,
them.
and
They'll
they've
know
got
it's us, but they can't prove anything,
yeah.
and we're telling them that it's us because it's right the day before the first appearance.
Yeah. Well, and they'll do anything to keep the facade up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel
But when you do it like that, like the day before the court case, it's telling
Yeah.
to anybody who knows what's going on.
Yeah.
They did it, and they don't even care that we know that they did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I feel prompted to tell anyone, like, if you want to take action, my old way of thinking, I was, trained in the army. I joined the special forces and wanted to become this badass with guns and all this stuff. Part of it to fight injustice like this, part of it because I had this hatred for that kind of thing. But I see it even more powerful because one of the things I learned, a concept that that I quite like, the special forces, the army, anyways, the Green Berets. And I'm not a Green Beret. I went through most of the training and had difficulties with the marriage and had to leave about 3/4 of the way through. But the concept of a force multiplier, something really, really useful to have in your repertoire. But if somebody wants to take action and do something like this case, for instance, like when they put that guy off and they had this court case and the people got away, going to that place or thinking cleverly, almost like, or hacking into it, go to a waterway that's connected and speak your opposition to that. Don't just be frustrated and, feel hopeless at all. Like, there's not hopelessness. You can have your day in court anytime you open your mouth and you accuse with justice. And so if you want to take action, speak it. There's a lot of stuff we can learn and, through InPower and the notice of liabilities and all that as well. So I really, really encourage people to start learning and start putting this into practice. But before you even know all of that stuff, it's not too soon or too late to go out and speak your position against them and call to God, like in the days of Noah, when the men cried out to the Father and the angels brought the court case up to heaven and put it before the Lord. Like, let's start doing that now.
Yeah, because it says in the Bible, you have not because you ask not. We don't believe in God. We don't believe that if we do believe in God, we don't believe that we can have, this kind of authority. But he says, come boldly before my throne. Come in like a boss lawyer. Like, yeah, man, I know exactly what's going on, and this is how this is going to go.
Preach.
Yeah. And that's the key to this. Like, we have that authority in here.
Mm-hmm.
It was given to us. We just got to use it. Like, pick it up and use it. And your voice is very strong. Everything was made. Everything that was made here was made by sound. God said, and it was. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Then he took that breath that makes those sounds and blew it into us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot to say.
We have that.
Yeah. And don't worry about what you're saying. Like, that's something else that's in the scripture, but I find it to be true. You don't have to know the right words. Just go, just put yourself in that position, make the connection and speak, and it'll come out.
Yeah. It's like a groan. It even says groanings. This comes from the spirit. That there are groanings. They're not even words. It's just like a vocalization.
Yeah. So final question.
It's understood, and up there, like they know what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So my final question for you, Cal, because you mentioned like it's coming, like this time is coming, the court case is going to be over. So what is written in the biblical text that sort of speak to that, but then also what's your sort of personal feeling? What's your intuition telling you about where this is all going, and like where do you see this going in the foreseeable future, at least anyway?
I see that the default is coming, and once we hit a critical mass, whatever that is, there's some kind of agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Once we hit that, that's it. Like, literally, okay, the appeal time. We're basically in an appeal situation, in my opinion. Judgment has already come, but there's an appeal. So he's loosed out into the world pending the appeal. And yet here we are following this nonsense again. So we got to turn that around. And then once that the judgment comes, like that's the final judgment. And we've all been told it's judgment on men and everything. It's more a judgment on those who were cast out a long time ago. We get caught up in that if you've chosen to follow that. But it's really, that's what the judgment is. That's the final judgment. You guys have had your days, years, eons in court. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think we are. And then it's the second death and the lake of fire and all that stuff. And death is thrown in there. Like there's no more dying. Death is an introduction inside of here. And Jesus overcame that as well. He conquered death. That's what it says. And so it's all of that, all the fabrications, all of the illusions, all will be brought down, and we'll actually see what actually is, and we'll see God for who he is and who Jesus is, and all the angels all will be revealed. Like Isaac said, that it's the sky is going to be ripped open, like literally, almost like one of those IMAX screens. We've been looking at it, but it's really like, no, it's actually a screen, and here's the reality. And until that day, they're locked in here, and we're locked in here with them to a degree. We can actually get out, but because I've been out, but they can't.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the Giza pyramid and what it does, and you get into the king's chamber and into that box, that's a way of getting out. And they had to teach adepts the Fibonacci series, because you come out on a phi spiral, and the phi spiral, all points are all really the same. You can't distinguish.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to use Fibonacci to kind of approximate where you were in order to get back.
Wow.
A lot of people didn't come back. Yeah. So they were trying to get out. The whole Tower of Babel is like trying to reach up to God. They're trying to get out of here. NASA is all about getting out, not about space exploration.
Yeah.
It's about, let's bust out of this thing. And they haven't been able to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially in terms of the firmament. Isaac, I don't know if you've seen, Isaac's shown me these videos of like, rockets or whatever going up and hitting something and then just like scraping along the firmament, and
it creates light. There's like it's very fascinating.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense in the context of it being a prison for them. But yeah, interesting that you said like we can get out, and I guess that kind of speaks a lot to these experiences that people have of like, I guess you'd call it like an outer body experience. And I think again, because, especially if you choose God and you're close to God, I think there are ways for us to leave here.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but they're caught in here. And, even Obama is saying, it won't be long until humans can get out of low Earth orbit. I'm like, you guys are trying to escape, because the humans are the half-breeds. So he's using the correct words. He knows exactly what he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's another conversation for another time.
Yeah, let me get into that. But
but I've absolutely loved this conversation. And I've got to say, Cal, every time I hear you speak, I always leave feeling so inspired. I feel like the way that you articulate things and speak about them, like you're able to put it in very simple terms, and it like a lot. Again, I'm like, God, so much makes sense now, because I think people can get lost in these. It is a lot of the, trying to answer the big questions, and you can get very lost in that. But I say it with a lot of things we often talk about with health, like it's about making it simple again. We overcomplicate things. And it's like bringing it back to the simplicity. And I think it very much applies to this stuff as well. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. And just thank you for everything that you do. Like it's So, like the journey that you've been on, it was hard as it was. I think it was very necessary so that you were able to teach others and
Yeah.
spread this and look how it's spread. It's so amazing.
Yep. Yeah, it definitely was a journey, and I didn't know, till I could look back and actually see, the path. And yeah, it was just amazing because I didn't plan any of it really. It just, and there were so many little details that if it hadn't happened that way, then this wouldn't have happened, and then that wouldn't have happened, and on and on and on. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in awe of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Incredible.
we're honored to be on this earth, on this plane with you,
Yeah.
experiencing this at this time. I know it's been challenging, but we're here for a reason at this time. And it's,
Yeah. For sure. And how can people get involved, Cal? So in Power and now Rev 18. Has Rev 18 officially launched?
We haven't. We're working on that again. We were going to try and launch it at the festival, but we decided to wait. So we're back on that. So some energy back in it, and it should launch fairly quickly. All the pieces are kind of there. We just didn't have enough oversight on it. That sounds weird, but um, somebody to take responsibility for it, that kind of thing, like just to get it moving.
Mm.
Because we got so many burners, and we just, but somebody's come up now. So,
Yeah.
uh,
And can you
yeah.
just explain for people listening, like what exactly is Rev 18 and what's the intention behind it?
Rev 18 is a church domiciled in the US, so it's protected by the US Constitution. And then InPower is what they would call integrated auxiliary. But neither of them, they can't even talk about them really.
Hmm.
They're separate. So the InPower is, I mean, the Revelation 18 is going to be basically an online church. We'll eventually have properties around the world, across the world. And then, but really it's teachings like, well, similar to what we just discussed, like Dottie will be there, and others. So depending on how what sort of angle you resonate with, you can get something that you can hang on to, because a lot of people have an aversion to Bible or Christianity or spiritual things altogether. And so we're creating something that is not dogmatic, not rigid, and more open, and so that people can feel safe and learn, learn the truth, and also get help with healing and prayer and, deliverance and all that stuff.
Mm.
So yeah, it's something we want to do online. It's going to be free for people just to come and feel like they're part of something, like create that body and yeah, we're looking forward to it. I think a lot of people are looking for something. I would say need, but are looking for something that they can trust, and it's not gonna take them off into Lululand, and they don't feel like that pressure or any kind of club hitting them or anything like that. We want to have that kind of a feeling with the place.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually
awesome.
super excited. I'm so glad you guys are doing it because, yeah, like I said, I've definitely become more curious about wanting to learn the Bible. But I don't think I'd ever join more of like the established churches. And that's what actually excites me because like knowing you guys, I think it's going to be a great space for people to be able to ask questions. Because as we know
Yeah.
in a lot of the churches, you're not allowed to question anything. You just do as you're
No.
told.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's so very much needed. And as for InPower, again, just for anyone listening that doesn't know exactly what you guys do, it's the five main things that you focus on with the notice of liabilities, isn't it?
The four agendas are 5G, smart meters, vaccinations, and the spraying in the air.
Hmm.
And so we conditionally accept those. We don't argue with them. We put forth our belief in it, and we expect them to rebut that. And if they don't, and then they continue, because we're saying these are weapons. That's what we're saying.
Hmm.
Looks like these are weapons, and looks like you're putting them up near me, and I'm not going to accept that. And so I will accept it if you can prove that these aren't weapons. If you don't prove that they're not weapons and you keep spraying or keep doing them in my vicinity, then I'm going to charge you $40,000 a day. Do we have a deal? If you
And
go
what,
silent, then you've agreed. And then boom, we start billing them.
yeah. And how much have you guys billed for so far?
42 billion US.
Wow. That's saying something.
Yeah.
They're not rebutting it.
They're not paying out, are they?
They don't have to because we're again that whole cup thing from Revelation 18. Their system is the bill of exchange is the money. You don't have to collect anything for it. It literally is money as soon as your signature hits it. So we're taking all the things that they've used against us, the credit cards and loans and mortgages and our signature on these pieces of debt notes that they've been enriching themselves with is now reversing everything. And we're taking all the wealth back.
Yeah. I love it.
I like where that's going. Yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely, for anyone listening that, again, like wants to start doing things differently, but doesn't know where to start, I definitely recommend InPower. I know so many people that are part of it and they've learned so much. And again, it's not about just learning, because I think, again, a lot of people get stuck in the learning and I just got to know more and more and more, and then they don't do anything with it. But with InPower, like you're actually doing it, and it's through the doing that like it all makes sense. Like that's what happened with my mum. She learned all this law stuff, and then it wasn't until she went through her court case and wrote the affidavit and did all the paperwork, she was like, oh, this all makes sense now. Because the knowledge without action is just knowledge. It needs to be put into action, and that's where the wisdom comes.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you so much, Cal. This has been a really good ride. We've gone through a lot of different gates and learned some things and introduced some really, really important concepts to people.
Yeah.
So I encourage people to go look you up, follow you, and join InPower and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
Thanks, Cal.
Great to see you guys again.